Long ago, the whole tale kicks off with a dusty old drawing of heroes, showing how that legendary party once teamed up with monsters to smash huge disasters before they could even begin. This crew was famous everywhere. Legion was the name everybody feared to forget. And running the whole crew was Shin, the guy who translated literally everything, no exceptions. He and his crew spent every day chasing the impossible side by side, and this is how Shin and his crew stormed through the chaos and carved their names into history. But then it all flips. The second Shin's teammate chokes out an apology because right after that he gets kicked out. He storms out, slams his fist on the table, and roars, "Why is this happening?" He reminds her, "We promised we'd reach A rank together." And then he won't stop yelling. He's pounding the point home that she's facing the truth. Jason, the leader of the Golden Fleece, kicks off screaming that he's done with the excuses, that his crew just isn't cutting it, and that a hero like him deserves way better teammates than this. Jason admits he sees how hard Shin's trying, but Shin snaps his fist shut and reminds him they've been friends since they were kids. And he's done everything to keep up. Jason doesn't care. One bit, he screams that Shin's gift isn't meant for combat and hurls half-baked insults at him for everything, from swords to magic, making Medea steps in to finish the job. No hesitation, no mercy. She squares up, locks eyes with him, and snaps that he's nothing but dead weight, which it really drives the point home. She reminds him he couldn't even land a clean hit on a troll last time. And Shin just drops his gaze as he admits she's right, then immediately scrambles to argue that at least he served as a flawless decoy for the team. As he stares at his teammates, he finally gets it. Those eyes aren't judging one match, they're reading his entire record, and the truth hits hard, and he doesn't have real skill that can end a fight. He stares at his scarred, rough hands, the result of years of hard work, not wasted training, not slack days, but even so, he can't shake the truth. No matter how he fights, his sword skills will never match Jason's. And on top of that, he can't tap into the high-level magic Medea pulls off, nor the healing magic Asu's team can use. He's trapped in a brutal spot, and Shin starts to feel his special gift hit a hard wall, like it can't keep going. Medea just glares at him with those icy eyes and tells him the party's leveling up to A rank now, and their game plan is simple: turn Jason into a legendary hero. So she lays it out to his face that once he's got the universal translator gift, there's no way he can stand still while the wild battles they're about to unleash come crashing down on him. Medea tells Shin she's done. She can't keep up anymore. Then Shin finally drops his gaze, realizing they've already sealed their fate. He demands to know if Asu realizes they're booting him out too, and his voice drops like, "Wait, are you sure?" If the whole team's truly on board, Jason panics and turns defensive, stammering that she's been brushing him off and talking straight to Medea. She doesn't even blink, just stares him down like, "I'm dead serious," and makes it clear the whole group is behind this choice. She turns to leave and walks off, murmuring his name with a soft thank you for everything he's done for them so far. Shin stands there, alone in silence, fist clenched tight as the truth hits him. She's right about him. He shouts one final warning, tells Jason not to get cocky, then turns to Medea and begs her to watch over him before and she goes, "Of course," like it's obvious, because at this point, she's basically Jason's right-hand woman. Jason snaps, loses control, and screams that he doesn't want a single bit of advice. Then he snarls at Shin that guys like him are losers and should just disappear. Jason yells at him to ditch every item and all the gold if his face breaks. But the guy insists he'll deliver everything to the guild later. Hold up, smash that like button, and hit subscribe for more. For more secret manga gems, now go on, I dare you to comment. Comment right now, I'm loving this so much, and I bet most of you are thinking the same thing. So that's how it's gonna be. If you won't do it, then forget it. Alright, now we keep rolling. In this world, being an adventurer isn't a dream, it's a real job. And people hustle from hunting monsters to... It's not just treasure hunting, it's a whole ladder system, starting at apprentice level and climbing all the way to the legends who once saved the entire world. She admits he was no different from the rest, chasing that top-tier hero rank while he leans into the bartender and demands another drink. He stumbles down the city streets, clutching a bottle, while the truth hits him. His old party is the top-rated crew in town, and he can't forget how it all began back in their tiny hometown, just him, Jason, and Ath, roaring out the door like, "We're gonna make it big." They weren't strong back then, and even a few basic goblins were enough to smash the team's confidence and turn their whole fight into a nightmare. She was always right there to back Jason up, especially when he'd snap and burst into one of his usual rampages. Somehow they pulled it off then. The moment Medea joined the squad, their reputations skyrocketed and their careers finally took off. But while everyone else kept leveling up, Shin suddenly realized he wasn't growing at all. He just couldn't keep up with the rest anymore. He clenches his fist, rage spilling out because he knows the only reason he's stuck like this is the bizarre gift he was born with. In this world, everybody gets a gift at birth. This wild, random power just waits. Then one day, it suddenly erupts into their life. And just like that, your whole future is decided while Shinlai lies there, staring at the ceiling, stuck wondering if he'd have been happier never becoming an adventurer in the first place. He stares at his card and fumes, wishing his power could actually kick in during a fight, instead of being useless for battling. And he flashes back to those simpler days when they were just kids playing together, before life got messy and complicated. She strides straight to the Adventurers Guild right as someone is shouting, "Yumi!" as loud as their lungs can take it. He heaves the massive front doors open and strides into the main hall. The second he steps inside, the whole room erupts in whispers. Everyone's pointing at him like that's the guy who just got kicked out of the Golden Fleece. Some guys burst into laughter, yelling that it was about time he got the boot, because a translator had no right anywhere near a top-tier crew. Trash talk keeps hammering in, and people keep sneering that the only reason he's even here is because his friends pitied him so. Yumi starts shaking so hard until the moment it finally snaps, she screams at everyone to shut up, ripping into them because adventurers don't get to treat each other like trash. Angelina barks at the loud crowd to get out of the way, and the guys finally scatter, slipping back to their own business. She whips around at Sishin, standing there, and tells him Angelina, a guild staffer, that she's so happy she finally found him. Angelina says she already knows he got kicked out, so she grabs him and drags him to the back to talk where nobody can hear. Once it's just the two of them, she takes every coin and piece of gear he brought from his old group, pocketing it with purpose, then files it into the guild's records like it's official business. Angelina gets furious after everything he pulled off for the Golden Fleece. She's like, he shouldn't have to hand this stuff back. Shin just keeps staring at his own hands, quietly admitting Jason nailed it. He's got zero real fighting power, and if he's going to take a shot at all, he'd better pray he can land a hit on a D rank by himself. But Angelina shuts down every shred of self-doubt and yells that he's dead wrong about himself. She locks eyes with him and delivers her expert verdict. He's a solid C rank adventurer, no party needed. She even jumps in and offers to set him up with another top-tier beer ant group right away because that group's been getting swamped by all her kindness. Shin leans in and softly admits he just wants to try the solo life for a while, and it hits her like a slap. She snaps to her senses, realizing she'd been pushing too hard, and quickly blurts out an apology. Sheen now looks laser-focused, saying he's finally ready to test what he can do completely on his own. Then he turns to Angelina and tells her support was the exact push he needed. And Angelina clocks the timing perfect. She calls out his name and tells him she's got a specific quest she needs him to handle. She yanks out a folder and tells him the truth. An orc outbreak has just erupted in some nearby caves, and then she locks eyes with him, asking if he'll go wipe them out, and tells him, "If you bring back the ears like you always do, I'll make sure you walk away with a serious bounty for this job." But she's not done. She hits him with a special request, asking if he'll use his method to dig into the cave's deepest depths. She knows this will be extra work, so she flat out promises him a separate bonus for the investigation on top of the regular reward. Angelina leans in and warns him, "I'm going to say it again and again until it finally sinks in," because she's seen how hard he's worked for his old crew in the guild. She flashes him a huge, warm smile and squeezes his hand, promising that even if everything feels awful right now, something amazing is coming. She's watched enough adventurers to know it's guaranteed. Shun's face erupts bright red. He blurts out a stammered, "Thank you," then boom, he totally loses it and asks her out for dinner, only to panic and backtrack right away, claiming he was just joking. Angelina freezes stiff, stunned, and inside her head she spirals, yelling at herself for the words she just threw at him. Angelina tells Shin she's got 2 rules for this job first. He has to come back in one piece, and just as Shin starts pushing for the second, she winks at him and demands he take her out to a killer restaurant, flashes a playful grin, asks if he's got a deal then. And Shin is so hyped he practically vaults out the door, yelling at the top of his lungs like pure joy just burst out of him. He heads straight for the town's carriage stop, ready to snatch a ride out to the dungeon. While he's there, a horse spots his good mood and asks what's going on. Shen nods and says, "Yeah," but the horse shuts it down, tells him to ditch the small talk and just hand over a carrot. The horse blurts out it's craving fresh green grass, and Shin just nods like, "Don't worry, I'll handle it." He can't stop thinking about how his translator power really works. Like, this is the exact way it all clicks. It gives him the power to talk to animals and even monsters, but deep down he can't stop wishing he'd gotten a combat blessing like Sword Saint instead. He's pretty sure that if the thing he had was made for fighting Jason and the others, they never would have kicked him out. But right as he settles into the carriage seat, a bunch of rough-looking thugs roll up and demand, "Mind if we sit with you?" The rough-looking men in the carriage clock a girl alone with her hood pulled low, and one of them jabs a finger at her like he's just spotted something he has to say. She's out there alone, moving like she has no backup at all, so he slides up beside her, asks if she'll tag along with their group, and swears she'll get a fair share of whatever they find. But then the story cuts off. Then the guy bursts into laughter and claims the deal even covers nighttime activities. And Shin just sits there watching, thinking the offer isn't half bad until the girl shuts him down in an instant. She's bluntly like, "I'm not teaming up with anyone weaker than me." And then she adds that even some little kid could probably hit on girls better than he ever could. He snaps, instantly yells at her, then yanks back a huge fist to silence her, and Shin snaps to attention. This is about to spiral into disaster because before the guy can even throw a punch, the girl whips in like a blur, flips him clean over her shoulder, and he crashes onto the carriage floor shaking with pure terror, and she whips out a blade snarling that if he keeps it up, she'll make sure he never breathes again. Panic takes him over as he sputters, begging her to stop, insisting it was all just a joke. She's frozen in full-on shock, and he realizes it. Her speed isn't just fast, it's on a whole other planet, even quicker than Jason. Then the girl snaps her attention to him, and Shin scrambles to explain it to her, insisting the other adventurers would probably cheer if she took the guy out. Then he snaps back, correcting himself as he warns that they'd actually turn on her and attack. He just scratches his head and promises her he'll keep it in mind, then walks off, leaving the girl frozen, staring like, what did he even mean? The hooded girl sheaths her sword like it was nothing, smiles it off, and Shin just stands there stunned, replaying the whole thing like, wait, what just happened? But as everyone splits off toward the woods, Shin just flicks a quick wave to the group and slips away with the mysterious girl. He's perched on a dark cliff with a torch blazing in his hand, whispering to himself that it's finally time to get his act together and move out. And there, hanging off the cave wall like a surprise, was a familiar face dripping with slime. Shen blurts out, hey! And the slime shoots back that it's been way too long since they last crossed paths. Shen plopped down to chat, and the stray slime lime was munching herbs like it owned the place then. Shen clocked that this little troublemaker wasn't just hanging out. It was trapped in the middle of a solo exam, so Lime shoots a question, are you planning to stay solo from now on? Shin says, not forever, then turns it back because he can't wrap his head around why that slime is even asking. Lime wastes no time. She jumps straight to it and asks if she'll let him tag along on his journey. He double-checks that the annoying blonde leader and the gloomy mage are truly gone, because he's dying to finally hit the road with Shin for an adventure. Shin can't help it when he sees the little slime. He's genuinely touched, staring at it with pure appreciation. Lime starts tossing jokes about rescuing a princess one day, and boom, right then and there, the slime officially hops into Shin's party. Lime bounced along on Shin's shoulder as they kicked off the trek, peppering him with one big question. What was the exact plan? Shen cranes his neck at the bats circling the cave and tells them they're hunting an orc outbreak. Then he turns to Lime, demanding to know if he's heard anything. So Lime pauses, digs into his memories, and drops the bombshell that the orcs just got themselves a brand new leader. Turns out this new chieftain despises humans so hard that the orcs who normally keep to the shadows have spilled out and started roaming everywhere. Shen snaps to attention, one man at the top flipped the whole pack's behavior. And while Lime shoves a warning into his ear to watch his back, and they agree this investigation is about to get a whole lot more dangerous, so they'll have to tread extra carefully, and they thank the little slime for the heads up. He spots 3 goblins up ahead, and sure, they're not some monster nightmare, but ignoring them now only means trouble is going to hunt him later. So Shen snatched for his sword and asked Lime if he could rush ahead and wipe them out, because he couldn't stand it when they struck the second they spotted him. With one sharp swing, he darts in and slices clean through the whole group, blade flashing like a storm. Sheathed his sword, and Shin tells Lime was finally finished. Turns out that Slime had been watching the whole time, and it even praised him for the lightning-fast job. Lime blurts out this super weird rant about a website, and right away she gets poked, she waves it off and tells him to wait, because they only just met today. The little slime session, she says the name, then just nods like, yep, we're sticking to that plan we talked about earlier. He's trudging through the pitch-black cave with a torch blazing when, boom, an arrow zips past his face and lands in the dirt right at his feet. Sotian finally freezes in place, scans the shadows, and snaps, what the hell is all this supposed to mean? A crew of guys rolls in, and their leader laughs at Shin's calm like it's pathetic, calling him a washed-up beer-ank adventurer who's already rotting away. Shin stared them down and said he didn't have a clue how he'd made them this furious, then realized they were the same dudes from the tavern. The leader barks for him to shut up, telling Shin that their old captain made them look like fools and now they're getting payback on him. Shin realizes Jason is still messing with him even after the exile, and he snaps, that guy's always been terrible at getting anyone to understand him. He tells them, you're only picking on me because I'm alone. Then spits, cowards like you are the reason you're all stuck at C-Ring. He admits taking on 8 guys at once is going to be a nightmare, but then he spins back and demands, are they really sure they want this? Shin blurts out that the guild has brutal rules against adventurers brawling each other. Then the bald leader just cackles and dares him. So who in the world actually cares about those rules? He leans in with a vicious glare and growls that if Shin drops dead in this cave, there'll be nobody left to report them. Shin doesn't even blink, he just tells them that if they're going to act like that, then he's done pulling punches. For one heartbeat, the cave goes dead silent. And even with Shin just standing there with his torch, the leader starts to look visibly rattled. He tries to shake it off, snapping at Shin to quit trying to scare them, then blurts, "What can a loser with a trash translator and a shitty gift even do?" Shin flashes him a cold smirk and swears he's about to show what a real translator can do, but the leader calls it a bluff and orders his boys to grab him. Right when they're about to move, a massive thud booms through the tunnel and the goons instantly freeze, whipping their heads around in panic. Right then, Lime rockets into the spotlight, yelling that the hero is here and blasting out an apology because it took them a whole minute to march those orcs over. Shin Yell knows the bait worked like a charm. Then one of the guys snaps to reality and screams, "We're done! A whole pack of orcs is on us." Orcs burst out of the dark, the leader blazing his arm forward as he orders the pack to tear into the humans because their chief is about to be thrilled with the catch. The bald leader is sweating buckets, panicking as he begs Shin for a temporary alliance just to survive. Shen tightens his grip on his blade, vowing he's not dying here because the nerve these guys have is honestly unreal. He stares at the 15 orcs and figures they can crush them if every single fighter goes all in. So the moment he thinks about telling the guys, he can't stand the idea of them dying, and the thought leaves a sour taste in his mouth. We're gonna hold them off for a moment, then bolt the second a real opening shows up. She slaps an arrow out of midair and growls at the old man to stay sharp because he spots the enemy leader in the back, yells for everyone to pick off the big threats from far away, and keeps pressing while they fight to hold the line. Shin's ready to make his escape, but the cave suddenly feels off, so he snaps, "What's going on in here?" He tells Lime the bats are totally freaking out and asks if the slime can sense some nasty danger on the way, and Lime agrees, convinced he's right. Out of nowhere, somebody yells they smell a fight, so Lime's stomach drops, wondering if that Yuya guy is finally here. A massive orc with a jagged knife barrel straight into the light, screaming at the top of his lungs for everyone to let him join the fun. A hooded figure slips clean through the human line, barreling straight toward. A thunderous voice rips through the air, demanding to know who the strongest fighter in the whole place is, and it totally blindsides the old man and the orcs. A hulking orc in a scarf starts howling for a challenger. He's screaming for someone to fight him, but Shin finally gets it. No matter how loud that orc talks, he's right. Normal humans can't understand a single word these monsters spit out. The bald guy snaps, roars at the monster to shut up, and swings his sword. Then the monster cuts him down before he can finish. Shin's losing his mind. He's watching a C-rank adventurer get wiped out in a flash, thinking, can this monster even land a hit? And wondering what kind of special gift it's packing. The orc lunges straight for Shin, grinning like he can see it by the way he moves. Shin's the real powerhouse of the crew. Shin roars at Lime to get ready because, while the slime is already sliding forward, he's locked in talking like he knows exactly what has to happen next. As the orc crashes in with a brutal heavy strike, it drives Shin to brace and block with every ounce of strength. The orc is absolutely stunned. Shin just stops his brutal heavy swing, and then the orc even grudgingly admits, yeah, he's not half bad. He swings his massive foot to smash the lime, but the little slime darts away so fast he can't catch it long. So Lime just bounces off with a casual whoop, and the orc's stomp slams into nothing but dirt. The orc gets a real kick out of Shin showing off his tamed slime, then leans in and tells him straight up that he's the most interesting human he's ever laid eyes on. Then the swords crash together again, and Shin strains like crazy to keep him off because this guy is straight up a nightmare. The more they battle, the more their motion clicks into place. This monster could be way stronger than Jason. Suddenly, Shin feels a voice snap in his ear yelling for him to bolt left then right, and right on cue he lunges only when he's told sidestepping at the last second, as the hooded girl rockets in, throws a swing, and blasts at the monster. She blurts, "I knew it," and points straight at the sky like, "I'm hearing my prophecy perfectly, so that means..." So now the two of them are finally side by side, ready to smash this massive orc down for good. The hooded girl whips her head back to Chin, biting her lip like she's checking if he's really okay because even after she just saved him, she still calls him her savior. Shen tries to squeeze out a thank you, but the words jam in his throat. He's tripping over every syllable because he can't believe she just called him a savior. He cranes his neck to look at her and freezes. Utterly stunned by what's staring back at him, her hair burns a vivid red, brighter than any fire, and rays of light crash into it. And for a second, everything goes still, then the real danger hits as the girl stands there like a total pro, her cloak snapping in the wind. Her blade snaps through the air in a blur, slicing with a razor-sharp scream that snaps it for Shin. He finally remembers where he knows her from because she's the exact mysterious woman who was sitting in the carriage earlier. The orc gets driven back, drops to one knee, while Shin and the girl stand shoulder to shoulder, ready to end this brawl right there in the cave. The girl's eyes flare with pure annoyance. She can't believe the monster actually blocked her strike. But the orc just smirks, then tells her, "You're not so bad for a human girl after all." The orc rumbles that he'll never forgive her for diving into his fight, but even he admits it could make things a lot more interesting. Meanwhile, Shin just stands there, completely wrecked with stress. She's done with the whole mess. She shuts the monster down, calls his chatter useless, and demands to know if he's finally ready to stop talking and actually fight, even if deep down she can't shake the thought, maybe this monster is a complete idiot. She slides her sword free in one slick motion, tells him she genuinely appreciates the offer, but she's decided to end him right here, right now. She rockets forward with a brutal strike, but the orc is lightning fast. He snaps his blade up and blocks it cold, making Shin go wide-eyed, because there's no way the monster just parried her move for real. Then the girl flips backward through the air, grinning like it's the coolest thing ever as the orc starts. He rockets forward and snaps his hand out to grab her, but she doesn't even blink. She's locked on his every move and then she whips around, landing a brutal, massive slash that rips deep into the monster's side. She doesn't give him a second to breathe. She surges right back in and hammers another brutal blow while he's still down. The girl hisses, "Orca bastard," but he only growls back and fires off, "Little bitch." And then both of them, they're actually grinning now, and the girl just can't believe how much better the monster is than she ever imagined. Shin clocks the look on her face and instantly realizes it. These two fighters are freakishly strong, like absurdly strong. He desperately wants to help, but he can't find even one opening to burst into the middle of their plans. They're trading blows back and forth like it's nothing. She's honestly impressed he can block her attacks this well, but that orc he gets even more fired up and demands she tell him her name. Suddenly, the monster lunges in, snatches her blade with his bare hand like it's nothing. And that's when everything breaks. That's what makes Shin lose it, because she realizes the guy took the hit on purpose just to bait her into the trap. As Shin tries to figure out what that monster's cooked up next, the girl snaps she's done waiting, and she's ending it right now. He swings his massive flame sword and boom! Everything detonates in a massive explosion. She's absolutely stunned by the girl's power. She just unleashed that much fire without a single chant, and he can't wrap his head around it. So now he's staring at her like, was that her real finishing move? While Lime stares at the smoke and figures the orc has to be finished after that blast, Shin barrels over to check the slime, just relieved his friend is still standing there in one piece. But when the smoke finally thins out, two massive boots slam back into view, still planted on the ground, and the girl whips around, stunned that the monster is still standing. The orc general just stands there, a dark aura roiling around him, and tells her since she showed him a move, he's cashing the favor back right now. Shin watches everything unfold from the sidelines, and a bad feeling claws at him like the monster is seconds away from pulling something insane. Suddenly, the orc rockets forward and slams her with a brutal, heavy strike so fast and crushing, she barely gets a heartbeat to understand she's in deep, instant trouble. A colossal blade whirls through the air, and the impact sprays it with fresh blood from the brutal clash. The weapon smashes into the rock wall with a brutal hit, ringing from the impact as the orc looms over the girl. She somehow slipped out of the way at the last second, barely dodging the strike that would have ended everything on the spot. The orc locks eyes with her and blurts that she's the first person ever to dodge his Yuya Konkin like he's genuinely stunned. The girl stares the orc down and mutters that he's not all bad because she really believed her last strike would finally end him. But before she can even catch her breath, the monster lunges again, tearing in with another brutal assault, and she's totally blindsided. Lime shouts that the guy's acting totally off, and Shin clocks it immediately. Those wounds aren't slowing the orc at all. His speed and power keep surging higher. While the girl fights to keep her footing, Lime drops a brutal line about how things look grim for her, and that hits so hard she can't help but start asking herself, is there anything I can do? The orc blasts a deafening roar straight into her face, and the sheer force crushes her focus so hard she can barely hold her guard up. The monster just keeps shrieking, completely overwhelmed by the heat of the moment, and he towers over the girl, lifts his weapon for a brutal strike, and it looks like this hit is about to end it all. Shin freezes in pure horror when he realizes the orc just slaughtered his own people. His voice cracks as he demands, "Did you really just kill your comrades like that?" But the orc doesn't care. He snarls at them to get out of his way, because nothing on Earth is stopping his fight leading. Shin starts wondering if this wild mindset is what people call a warrior's pride. Then he spots something else. The hooded girl screeches to a stop, whips around and stares back like she can't shake the feeling that something is terribly. Then the orc finally blurts out the truth, apologizing for every bit of chaos his partner unleashed on everyone. Shin strides up to the fallen foes, locks eyes with the orc warrior and says, "I've got something to tell you," right? She just doesn't buy it. She snaps, "What are you even trying to do talking to a monster like that?" Shin cuts right to it and tells her to step back. He's got this, just for a moment. The orc sneers and asks if Shin is just another obstacle in his path, but Shin cuts in, saying, "No, it's not that." He flashes a grin at the monster and says, "I've got a deal, let me heal you up so we can restart this duel the right way." The girl is totally stunned. She blurts out, "Shin, what are you thinking?" But he just grins, tells her to watch, and as the girl stares, completely baffled, he dives down and snatches whatever he's after. Then Shin tells him straight up, "If we don't heal these wounds, that orc dies right here, heal him, and he'll get another chance to fight." Shin asks the orc how he feels after the healing, and the monster just stands there as the dark energy around him finally dies down. The orc stares at his own body, stunned because it feels totally fine. He starts wiggling and flexing his fingers, tossing out those weird little sounds. then realizes every single wound he had is totally gone. The orc starts spinning his weapon to flex his strength, but Chen cuts in, telling him he's still bleeding out and needs to calm down. The monster is visibly shuddering and pouring sweat as he slumps on his sword, trying to play tough by bragging that he'll let Shin go today, but Shin just can't help wondering if this dude is a total idiot. Shen snaps at him, "Don't you dare die before we get our real fight." Then hesitates, because it hits him hard. He doesn't even know his name. The orc, named Schwain, says it straight up, and Shen snaps, "I'm Shen," then pumps his hand hard right before they split off down different paths. As they stride away through the forest, a sharp voice slices right through the silence. The hooded girl stands there with her arms locked tight, her annoyance blazing as she snaps at Shin. "What do you think you're doing?" But he brushes it off like it's no big deal, like he's just closing a simple negotiation. He rips out an apology for not checking with her first, then says a rematch is the only thing that'll make the orc back off, so he's expecting that to solve it, until she tells him that's not even what's got her confused. The hooded girl is stunned out of her mind, grabbing Shin and asking if he's really serious about talking to monsters for real. He calmly feeds a little bird while talking like it's no big deal because his power lets him talk to anything with a will, and he's absolutely blown away by how incredible that is. Shin shrugs it off like a worthless dud, says it's only good for talking, and yeah. He even points out it's the reason he got kicked out of his old party. He flashes her a real, genuine smile and says, "Yeah, it's a weak power, but hearing you compliment me, and you can tell it makes him genuinely happy." She blushes hard, her thoughts spinning like, is he really that clueless? And then blurts out, "So how did my voice sound to you?" She finally figures out why her voice always sounded doubled, and the truth to her secret snaps into place. But he doesn't seem bothered at all. He just keeps waving and thanking her for saving his life twice, like it's the easiest thing in the world. The girl's eyes welled up as her cheeks burned, and the moment she realized he could hear her true feelings, she broke into emotion, completely overwhelmed. She snaps, lunges at Shin, and smothers him in a massive sobbing embrace, screaming that she finally found her saviors. The bird just basks in her own delight, but Shin snaps into panic the second he's touched because her fur feels impossibly soft. Lime suddenly pops up between them and flashes them a laid-back greeting like it's no big deal. Cassandra scoots back, cheeks burning, and blurts out that she's totally thrown by all of this. Turns out her real name is Cassandra, and everyone just knows her as the Enchanting Prophet. Shen snaps and tells her she's the one who needs to apologize, then cuts in, introduces himself, and brings Lime back up again. She drops that she's a solo player too, and I'm still blown away. He can chat with beasts like it's nothing. She flashes a warm smile, tells her she has a really nice name, and you can feel the moment hang there as everything cuts short. She was going to say more, but she stops. Stare up at the sky for a beat, then tell him if he's cool with it. She's basically begging him to join her, and then she fires the question, "Are you really serious about making a party with me?" He's completely blindsided, and he keeps repeating her words back to her like he's in shock. He can't even process it. Cassandra just beams at him with that sweet, blushing grin and asks, does he really want to? As the chaos calms, everything lurches back to the main guild headquarters. Angelina scans the hall Shin dragged back and instantly clocks the orc tribe's growing unrest under their new leader. Then she grills him about that gifted orc he'd been talking about while she tallies up today's harvest. And he thanks them for the delivery, because that info is exactly what they need to lock in the plan for the big hunt. She mouths the words back to her, and Angelina drops the bombshell that the guild's about to make an official announcement on it real soon. She tells him she'll be absolutely thrilled the moment he finally decides to say yes to that request. Shin sits there, letting the whole day slam into his brain. Then it hits him. He suddenly remembers those guys from earlier. He leans in and asks her straight up, did those guys who tried to start trouble with him this morning ever make it back to the guild? Angelina blurts that they still haven't heard a single word. And even though the guys are veterans who shouldn't pull anything dumb, she can't shake the worry from her face. And he leans in, asking her straight up if anything went down out there. Something she absolutely should tell him about. Before he even gets the chance to answer, she shoots him a fierce look and promises that no matter what goes down, she'll always stand by him. Shin's palms start to sweat as he forces himself to play it cool, he claims. They only bumped into each other in the cave, and Angelina just locks eyes with him for a second. Tells him she won't press the issue if that's his story, but you can practically feel her suspicion buzzing in the air. Suddenly, she slams her hands down, leans in close, and demands to know who that mystery woman was, the one he came back with. She flashes a scary look and demands, "Are you seriously flirting with girls instead of adventuring like you were supposed to?" She slumps onto the counter, sulking hard as she mutters that it's totally wrong to go hunting for hookups in a dungeon. Sheen panics and flails his hands, yelling that she's got it all wrong because he's sure that woman just pulled him out of a rough spot. So he leans in and pushes the conversation forward, asking her straight up what kind of adventure Cassandra really is. Angelina yanks up the guild records and goes, "Wait, I'm famous." Because turns out, in some circles, she's known as Cassandra of Calamity. The records tag her as a beer-anked solo adventurer with blood-red hair, so she doesn't just stand out, even when she dives into high-level dungeons with a party. They say she's a deadly swordswoman, swinging a one-of-a-kind blade from the east, a katana. The records swear Cassandra is the real survivor. the only one who always stumbles back alive after every mission, while Lena straight up admits her skills are the real deal. Then laughs and says she'd never, ever recommend anyone actually joining her party. She admits it's only a rumor, so they can't be 100 sure, but no smoke without fire hits her hard as she listens, her mind racing with, what if? So if that's really true, then big thanks to Angelina for all the info. You seriously helped me out. Shin replays their meeting in his head. He just can't imagine her turning into some villain. So he's convinced there's more to the story, and that's why he shrugs it off and decides to find out on his own if he gets played. He'll just blame his rotten gut feeling and just when his thoughts start drifting, Angelina snaps into the moment and calls his name, yanking his attention back instantly. Shen startles with a quick hop, fires back an answer, then snaps the conversation into overdrive pushing. So, when are the two of us heading out for dinner? She keeps fidgeting with her hair, blushing with nerves, and says the guild finally isn't swamped anymore so she can breathe and take a break. She blushes hard and blurts out, "Are you really sure about this, us two, alone?" Angelina locks eyes with him, flashes a warm smile, and says yes, because at the guild, he's always been taking such amazing care of her, so of course she can't say no. So she breaks it down. She's got her solo stuff handled now, and then she's like, let's go celebrate tonight. Sean tells her is definitely going to reach out soon because right now he's absolutely losing his mind from pure excitement. He can't stop wondering if his luck is finally flipping because it's totally wild that some girl actually wants to grab dinner with him. It's a wild switch from when he sailed with the Argonauts back then. Every girl only had eyes for Jason until then. So he tries to keep his feet on the ground, forcing himself to remember Angelina's just a genuinely nice person and that this is probably all business. And just as his mind starts racing, Cassandra finally bursts in and snaps, "Did I keep you waiting?" She shrugs and tells him it's no big deal. She actually loves dropping into new towns just to scope out the guilds and size up how tough the local adventurers really are. While they sit side by side, she spots him smiling and goes, "Why are you grinning like a maniac? Did something awesome happen?" Shin totally panics and blurts out, "No way, I'm not grinning." Even though the grin is right there because he insists he's the cool, serious kind. Shin jabs a finger at the menu and tells her, "The herb pork sauté is the move, no doubt about it." And then so Cassandra flashes him a huge grin, tells him she'll trust his word, and basically can't wait for that food. She clocks the fact that she's glowing inside and asks if this is her favorite dish, then grins and says she's not just tasting food, she's thrilled because it's been forever since she sat down and ate with someone other than herself. She starts blushing hard and drops her gaze, secretly panicking that she's gone a little too far in the heat of the moment. Gazing up at him with a bashful smile, she asks if he thinks it's weird that she's this thrilled. Shin cracks up and says, "Today's on me, so go ahead and order whatever you want." After they're done eating, Shin leaps up, says it's finally time to make things official, and calls on her to follow him. He keeps the door held wide for her, then ushers her off to a quieter corner so they can talk business without an audience. As soon as they finally settle in, Shin yanks out his card and says, "Let's start by trading guild cards," then shoots her a look to see if she's got a problem with it. Cassandra snatches her card and goes, "This is honestly the best idea because it lets me skip explaining my whole situation out loud." Shen stares at the card and his jaw just falls open. It's loaded with rare, high-level skills he's never even heard of. He scrambles to read the gift description, but half of it is cut out in weird blacked sections, and then it hits him. She's not what she claims. She's a half-breed. Cassandra tells him she's got 2 things she has to spill, then she tugs at her hair and blurts out that, yeah, he's probably already guessed it. She's not exactly 100% human. She glances away, voice tight with sadness, and admits she's a half-breed with demon blood. Then the shock hits her so hard she can barely believe she's hearing herself, asking, "Wait, are you really saying I'm talking about a demon?" He has to be certain, so he leans in and asks if she's talking about those demons from the old legends. He starts fixating on the demon race entities, those legendary monsters whose power is so off the charts it's basically unreal. They claim they're bloodlines from gods kicked out after a brutal war, stripped of power, and then swinging back for control of the world. Hardly anyone alive has ever seen one in modern times. But everyone's heard the stories because they're so brutally powerful the legends are everywhere. Shin swears they definitely exist, but says they live like hardcore hermits' ghosts in plain sight. Cassandra even admits that, yeah, it's her bloodline, yet she's never actually laid eyes on one in person either. It just cuts off. It finally hits him legendary god tier. Blood is really streaming through her veins right this second. Sheen scratches his chin, stunned and trying to process that she's half demon. Then she calmly nods and confirms he's right. Cassandra drinks it all in and then realizes Shin's got the exact skill set to be a perfect forward. With that gift of foresight, once the fighting finally kicks off, everything suddenly clicks into place. Shin can't stop staring. She's drop-dead gorgeous, and he's already thinking he's the luckiest guy on the planet to have her on his team. Cassandra flashes her gifts again and tells everyone the truth. Her enchanting prophet power doesn't just do one thing, it hits you with 2. Her eyes flare as she tells him she can shave off a few seconds of what's about to happen, And then she drops the real shocker she can see way into the future, like a living oracle. Shen tells her it's the most useful power ever, and she agrees. Then she leans in and admits there's one massive catch with no escape. She stands frozen, totally stunned, because the next thing she's about to say is going to hit like a bomb. She tells him her powers are the only thing keeping her breathing. But every time she glimpses the future, everyone else reads it wrong and it all spirals. Hearing that punches straight into Shin's gut. It sounds just like the chaos he lived through with his old party, and Cassandra tries to warn everyone that a giant tsunami is on the way, but they just stare at her like, "What tsunami?" and carry on like it's a beautiful, peaceful day. Cassandra looks completely crushed, realizing her gift feels more like a curse because no one ever gets what she's trying to say, not even close. But Shin finally clocks that his translation power isn't just translating words, it's catching her real voice. And that's exactly why he's been hearing those freaky echoes this whole time. Cassandra's heart slams with excitement as she realizes Shinshin is the only living person who can actually hear her prophecies the right way. He's basically the savior she's been praying for. And the second she looks at him, pure hope burns in her eyes. She circles back to that first conversation and brings up joining forces again. She finally admits that, yeah, her gift usually gets her judged, but her real combat skills totally legit. And together they'd make an unstoppable team. She's so desperate to get in with him that she lets him choose every quest and even promises he'll keep 90 of the money, but he tells her, "There's just one real condition for us to become a party." Cassandra's nerves spike and she quickly blurts that she'll dye her hair if it'll make things easier for him. Even as she shuts him down right away, he presses on saying her hair is beautiful and that it looked like flames the moment she saved him. Cassandra's face floods with red and she blurts out to Shin, "Wait, do you really like me looking that stunned?" Because the moment he says it, she's absolutely mortified. She quickly turns her gaze, the insecurity hitting hard, then blurts out, "Is that color not supposed to look creepy because it looks nothing like anything a normal human should ever have?" She snaps that the color proves she's not pure, but Shin just shrugs it off and fires back, "Why does it even matter if it looks pretty? Then it's just pretty." Shin jabs a finger at his own chest and tells her, "Yeah, I'm that kind of guy. I party with slimes like it's normal." He told her straight up he didn't care a bit that she was half demon. With his translation gift, he knew for sure there are plenty of good monsters out there. So he decides the only thing that truly matters is the kind of soul someone carries inside, and that's why Cassandra spiraled harder, practically begging, "Won't that make everything worse?" Especially when she knew he definitely heard the brutal nickname people threw at her. Shun murmurs disaster over and over like it'll unlock something. Then he meets her gaze head on and tells her he finally knows the real truth. She finally realized the truth. Everyone else kept misreading her gift, but she was the only one who genuinely had his back, stepping in with real advice when it mattered. Even remembering how she went way out of her way to fend off a giant pig demon just to keep him safe, Shin makes it clear he's got mad respect for them because they told him the truth, even when they knew it could blow up in their faces. Then he locks eyes with her, flashes this massive smile, and tells her he trusts her while Cassandra just stands there, whispering his name like it's the only thing holding her together. He's all fired up, leans in close, and tells her straight up she's just an insanely good person, and Cassandra just freezes there, stunned, replaying how she used her gift to spill prophecies to everyone. She admits that he cares more about helping people than saving face. And to her, that's what makes him look like a total hero. She whips her head away, cheeks blazing, snaps, "Idiot!" Because he's being way too nice, but under her breath, she still says a quiet thanks. She snaps back into action and grills Shin, asking what kind of deal he wants so they can team up. Shun tells her straight up, "I'm no savior. And if they're going to throw a real party, then everyone has to be equal." So he decides to split every reward right down the middle. Choose their quests as a tag team because he believes you've got to be brave enough to call each other out when you mess up, and you've got to trust them right back, no strings attached. Shen tilts his head, wears a calm little smile, and admits straight up that he can't be the one to save them. But he blurts to Cassandra that he's dead serious about being her partner, and she shoots back, "Are you sure one?" She can't shake the doubt, then glances aside and tells her straight, because that's what matters most to him. He lets out an awkward little laugh, admits he's the weaker one in this, then quickly shrugs, saying he's great at chores and that kind of stuff. So Cassandra drifts to the railing and tells him, "Relax, I'll train you myself since we're partners." Making shoots back, asking if she's really cool with it, she turns and starts walking off, snapping at him to be ready because her training is brutal. She whips her gaze back at him with a sharp, tempting smile and tells him, straight up, that no matter how hard he sobs and begs, she's not letting him go. Night drifts away, and when the morning hits, the two of them storm back to the guild where Angelina storms in with a chilling grin, then asks if they're throwing a party and whether her advice meant absolutely nothing. She shrugs it off like it's nothing, insisting it's totally fine since it's just an adventurer and a guild worker anyway. Angelina's face is blazing with annoyance as she demands, "Shin, do you even care about the advice I gave you earlier?" Because as soon as Shin clicks that he was warned about her, he has to rush in and prove the rumors are just a brutal misunderstanding while Cassandra stands there, baffled, watching the guild worker stare at him like he's trash. Angelina checks her clipboard and tells Cassandra, Since you're B rank and Shin's just C rank, we don't have the luxury of a normal job. We'll need a special request like a certification exam. And Shin just freezes there, stunned out of his mind because he realizes she's treating him even worse than before. Angelina keeps going, saying, "Look, we both know you're experienced. But Cassandra can't just battle on her own. If she's the higher ranking one, she has to lead." She tells them, "If you pull off this job without anyone getting hurt, the party gets officially promoted to B rank." Cassandra is fired up and hypes Shin like, "This is our first real mission, go all in." But Shin just slumps there, dead tired, and mumbles a weak, "yeah," like he's running on fumes. Angelina cuts them off right there, claiming she's only asking out of pure curiosity because deep down she has to know how they really teamed up. And she straight up pressures Cassandra, asking if she should aggressively flirt just to pull her into the group, especially after Cassandra already shut down Angelina's offer. Sheen completely snaps, baffled by what she's even saying, as she scrambles to explain that there's a real reason behind everything. Angelina clocks that Shin's first move was straight up going solo, but Cassandra won't stop pushing him. She's basically pleading, promising she'll do anything in the world if he'll just let her tag along, which means, and now it looks even worse for Shin. Cassandra rushes in to take the blame, claiming she pushed for the party, but Angelina is absolutely repulsed, unable to believe Shin let this girl offer herself like that. Cassandra totally misses the danger, grinning as she tells the guild staff she's not trash and definitely not the bad guy. She keeps clawing at the dirt, and then drops that little detail Shen praised her hair last night, said it was beautiful. But that praise totally rattles Shen. His composure crumbles, and he starts panicking, urging her to be careful with every word before. Cassandra snaps that a trash guy wouldn't be that decent, and Angelina pounces on the last night detail. Now she's even more ruthless about how they somehow got so close on day one. She snaps a sharp comment about how she already knows he's smooth with women, and you can tell she's not buying that sweet, innocent act for a second. She even digs up his old party, the Golden Fleece, and throws out that back then he was supposedly getting cozy with a Sue, too. Angelina finally snaps and tells him to shut up because his trashy attitude is contagious, and she refuses to catch any of it. Shin is freaking out, trying to convince everyone there's a reason for everything, right down to why he even ties his hair up. But Cassandra starts losing it, demanding to know if he was lying last night, and whether he really hates her hair, so Shin has to scramble and swear up and down that he meant it, because he genuinely thinks her hair is gorgeous. Angelina's done with the drama. She snaps that they should go make out somewhere else because she's got real work to handle. And the moment she confirms their request is officially approved, Shin wheels around and bolts out of there, shouting at Cassandra to chase him. Angelina lunges out toward him, and for one heartbeat she looks like she might actually miss having him around, but then she shouts one final warning, begging him to come back home safe and sound. Sheen flashes this huge grin and gives her a bold thumbs up like, "Trust me, he's coming back in one piece, no doubt." Next up, the Beer Ant quest officially kicks off, and the two of them dive deep into the forest to start their troll hunt. Feeling absolutely fired up, he tells Cassandra it's go time, and she's right there, ready to move with him. Cassandra flashed him a thumbs up and promised that if he just used the technique she taught him, this would be a total breeze. Chen swore he'd go all in, but then she starts spiraling, obsessing over the basics like, "We can't move yet. We've got to find the target first," because scouting is always the brutal hardest part of the job. Shin just stares at her like, "Wait, didn't you get it? We're already done with the scouting." He's absolutely miles ahead of her this time. Shen bends close to a tiny bird and lets its chirps become words for Cassandra. Then he warns her that 3 creatures in the forest will lead them to the exact right spot. Cassandra stares at him like he just pulled off magic, practically praising his translation skills as unbelievably handy. So Shin lays it out, just talking won't win you real friends, and then grins, because with his skills, he's stocked up on monster allies at his base. Cassandra clocks it. He must have been chatting with the slimes and bats in that cave, probing them like, "Do you know where the monsters are hiding?" Sheen bursts into the thick forest, picking his way through brutal terrain, and before long he spots something he can't leave behind. He flashes a handful of grapes and rare herbs like it's nothing, and Cassandra's jaw drops because he scored quality like that out of thin air. She can't believe anyone would toss him out with skills like that. Then she shoots him a look and asks if he got booted for flirting with every girl in the room. She snaps completely, then starts flailing his hands around and screaming that he got fired because he's weak, like she didn't see his low stats with her own eyes. He snaps his gaze away, claims those girls are just his old childhood friends from Medea, and admits he's always been told his work feels half-finished. Cassandra tells Shin to drop the whole girls chatter and lock in on what matters, then snaps him straight because every person at a party has a job to do. And it's all about positioning frontline fighters stay locked in close while the magic users unleash their blows from the back. So she tells him, even if you think your skills are just average, being solid at everything means you're the perfect support. She's totally blown away. The solo player knows way too much, and she can't help it. Her cheeks burn as she admits she studied up just for a moment like this. She glances down for a split second, feeling the weight of everything crash onto her shoulders, and then she admits, this is a huge responsibility. She refuses to let the gloom linger, then she bursts into shouting that they're about to throw the best party ever. He quizzes the bird, and it confirms the target's right there. Then Cassandra grins and practically can't wait to tear into it. When a giant troll slams down in their path, it's the ultimate trial for sea rankers. These forces hit harder than any orc could ever dream of. But the real nightmare: their healing power is absolutely unhinged, so fighting them feels hopeless from the start. If your attack isn't a finishing move, it just gets shrugged off, boom. They heal on the spot, so weak hits can't bring them down at all. Shin can't stop thinking about the Golden Fleece back then. They could only take down a troll by unleashing one single monster-sized fatal strike, and even that demanded Medea's absolute strongest magic just to pull it off. Barely squeezes the wind through. Staring down at the monsters in the woods, he realizes his brand new party has zero crazy high-level spells to lean on, so their only real shot is betting everything on Cassandra's totally unhinged sword skills and that razor-sharp blade of hers from the ledge. He braces himself and tries. He's trying to figure out how to buy her enough time to actually kill one, and when he asks how long she needs, she answers like it's nothing. 5 seconds, and it just leaves him no room to breathe. Staring there, his thoughts spinning out of control, because that kind of speed is something he can't even process. But Cassandra is already sprinting ahead with the plan. She tells him she'll knock out 2 of them in seconds and leave the last one for him. And just when Shin thinks, wait, this could work, it all starts to... It slams into him. Sudden nerves rip through his chest as he blurts out, wait, you really want me to take one of these all by myself? Cassandra shoots him a confident look and tells him, you'll be fine. Right before she makes her move, she locks eyes with him and tells him straight up that she truly believes he'll pull through. She yells she'll see him later, then vanishes in a blur, tearing through the trees at full speed until she crashes onto the ground right in front of the trolls. Sheen hears her words and thinks, if you're that bold, then I'm going all in. Cassandra whips her sword up and slices a troll's head clean off before it even realizes she's there. She doesn't pause for a breath. She thrusts out her hand and screams for the flames to torch the next target. She chops clean through its legs mid-sprint, skids across the dirt, and belts out Shin's name to warn him that it's time. That second troll is totally blinded by the fire magic she dropped, and it gives Shin the exact opening he's been waiting for. He plants himself right in front of the last giant and roars, your opponent's right here. The monster snarls like a storm, hurling all its rage at the tiny humans blocking its path, and Shin locks eyes with it, grinds his teeth, and dares the beast to come at him. The troll snaps into a murderous frenzy and hoists its giant club for a full-on killing strike, but Shin reminds himself his partner truly believes in him, and all he has to do is lock in and make it work. Shin ducks straight beneath the monster's legs to hunt for a crack in its guard, and Cassandra screams that this is it, the exact second they've been waiting to strike. Shin thinks it's over, but Cassandra screams that it's still alive then. A colossal fist whips past his head before he even gets a chance to react. She spots the beast finally losing steam and yells at Shin to keep smashing forward. Shin yells, I've got this, and charges right back into the brawl, throwing every last bit of strength into the fight. He slams in a brutal strike, and the troll howls in agony as smoke blasts out of the brand new wound. The monster lunges for him one last time, but Shin screams, not today, and his sword flares to life with raw energy. With a thunderous roar, he slams the blade into the monster's chest so fast the troll can't even manage a scream before it's over. Shin stands there, panting hard, staring as the smoke curls up from that massive body, only for it to finally go still. He leans on his sword like it's the only thing keeping him standing, still stunned that he actually pulled it off while Cassandra sprints in with both arms up, screaming her cheers for him. She breaks into laughter and tells him, you're finally ready for the real world, then basically blows his mind by saying he's way better than she ever expected. Shin bursts out laughing, admits he's honestly stunned by how far he's grown, and tells Cassandra it's all because she's been an incredible teacher. The two of them smashed fists together, hyped up and celebrating the win. They press on to the city, heading straight for the towering Adventurers Guild like it's calling their names. Right back at the counter, Yumi flashes a huge grin and tells them the troll's magic stone appraisal is finally done. She officially praises Shin for landing that B rank, and even though Angelina's stuck in a meeting, she swears she's going to be over the moon. Chen says he's really hoping that's true because he feels like he's been owing her for ages now. Yumi just bursts into laughter and tells him he's being painfully humbled, then she goes on, and then she spills the news she's been tapped to coordinate a massive new project that's about to kick off. They broke down the whole plan because the real spark came from the exact intel they snagged from that adventurer on the job. Shen starts to speak, but Cassandra barrels in with a grin, teasing that if he's Beer Inc., then the guild must have been starving for members lately. Shin slams to a halt the second he spots a familiar face. There's Jason, standing right there with Medea and Jason. Jason goes up to Medea, then snaps his smug grin towards Shin, laughing that he thought the guy would come crawling back to the order in tears. Then Shin shows up with a girl, and Jason just tears into him, calling it an almost too smooth move. Cassandra spits rude bastard and snaps at Shin if he even knows the guy. So Shin tells her, straight up, that Jason used to run his old crew, the Golden Fleece. Jason doesn't skip a second and blurts out, I'm the one and only great hero, but Cassandra isn't buying it. She rips into him, calling him a joke of a hero, and flat out says anyone who can't see Shun's value is an absolute idiot. Jason totally snaps. He starts screaming, demands to know what she just said, and then threatens to kill her on the spot while Medea fights desperately to hold him back. He keeps yelling that there's no way he'd ever lose to some woman, but Cassandra just keeps on walking and shoots back that beer ink isn't allowed. So under guild rules, he can't start a private fight. Suddenly, Jason snaps to a halt and points at her red hair. Then it hits him. She's Cassandra the Calamity, the legendary beer ink solo adventurer. And the second he snaps that he'll have to deal with a comrade killer, you can tell pure annoyance is boiling over. This is going to be a total pain in the neck. That comment hit straight where it hurt. And Cassandra looked rattled as she muttered under her breath that she hadn't done a single thing they were accusing her of. Medea stares up at Jason, frozen in shock, demanding to know what he just said, while Jason snaps at Shin to say what he's doing, only for Shin to refuse to back down and slam Jason with the truth. He has to apologize to Cassandra. Shin shrugs off Jason's insults like they're nothing, leaving Medea totally baffled. Then his temper snaps. He starts yelling that nobody gets to disrespect his partner, and he demands an apology right now. Jason yells back that everyone calls Shin a loser, and the truth's undeniable. Then Shin steps right up in his face and screams that Jason is dead wrong. Shin keeps charging forward, screaming at full volume that the fact he's still standing here breathing is proof right there. Jason is dead wrong. Jason clicks his tongue and says she finally gets it, so Medea steps in, snaps the arguing shut, and proposes they settle it with a mock battle. Shun doesn't even pause, he swears he'll handle them. Then Cassandra snaps, demanding he stops right there and waits. Cassandra tells Shin, "Let me take this." And when he locks eyes with her, he finally gets it behind that reputation. She's an absolute swordmaster. She tells him, "That's exactly why I have to rise to the moment, because this whole disaster is now tied to both our reputations." Jason just bursts into laughter, mocking Shin for letting a woman take the fall and cracking that the guy's clearly living the high life. Cassandra jabs a finger at Jason and snaps, "Keep barking while you still can," because she's about to step in and take Shin's place in this mock battle. Cassandra presses her hand to Shin's chest to stop him cold, and it finally clicks for him when he realizes what she's been planning. Jason erupts into shouting at the crowd that he's worth far more than Cassandra could ever claim. Then he fires back, asking everyone if they're ready to watch him get to work. Cassandra glances his way, unbothered by all the chaos, and fires off the question, "Are you really ready to start this?" The crowd erupts, chanting for Jason and flipping off the outsiders like they should go straight to hell, and Yumi stands on the sidelines with dread creeping up, knowing this could blow up any second. In the stands, the crowd's losing control. This one guy is screaming for Jason to smash the red-haired girl's nose for him. Jason flashes this creepy grin, wiggles his finger at Cassandra, and tells her he already knows exactly what her special gift is. He slings his sword over his shoulder like some hotshot, puffing out his chest as he tells her, "I'm a gentleman. Go ahead, take the first shot." Cassandra doesn't blink. She smirks and says she'll take that offer, then instantly kicks on her flambered flame leg skill. She rockets forward so hard it leaves fire streaks in her wake, and before Jason even has time to blink, that smug grin shatters into raw, bone-deep terror. She slams down a monster hit, and a shockwave rips through the arena while Cassandra just stands there, calm as ever, letting the sheer force of that strike do all the talking. Jason lies face down on the mangled arena floor, knocked completely out cold, while Yumi screams his name and the crowd just freezes in stunned silence. Smoke still billows from the hole in the wall where Jason hit the ground, but Cassandra just stands there like this is nothing, while Shin explodes with joy. The crowd is going wild. Half the people scream that Cassandra is insanely strong, and the other half can't even process what they're witnessing yet. She just flashes a smile, soaking up the win. Angelina bursts into the area looking completely rattled, shouting that she needs answers, why the place is in chaos, and why the noise is going so wild. She freezes on the spot the second she lays eyes on the wreckage. Shin's looking over it, and she's absolutely stunned to find herself standing there at the exact moment she shows up. Yumi is gripping Angelina like her life depends on it, sobbing her heart out, and while Angelina tunes out the chaos for a second, she snaps at Shin that he's got to explain himself. She claims she understands the whole fight, but before it even ends, she cuts in with something way bigger, then grabs Shin's attention and demands he follow her. Angelina hustles them away from the arena, shouting, "This way," while Shin trails behind, heart pounding as tension clenches every step. They wind up in a hushed library corner, and Angelina sweeps in, sits them down, locks eyes with them both, and warns them, stay calm for what's coming next. She tells me that another crew of adventurers charged into that very same cave and then hits me with the brutal twist everyone's gone except one guy. A handful of survivors crawled out of that cave, and they look absolutely wrecked. One poor guy just lies there, swaddled in bandages like the pig demon completely shredded him. He still managed to slip the message out before he collapsed in the clinic, And now, thanks to that and what Shin told them, the guild is stitching the whole truth together. Shen's face tightens the moment he hears the guild is about to announce an official emergency mission because right now, the gloves are coming off. Cassandra says they're squeezing in one last check before the order ships, and Angelina fires off at Shin, "Tell me every detail of what happened in that cave." Shen turns to Cassandra and nods, ready to spill every single thing he saw because now he can feel just how sky-high the stakes really are. An emergency mission hits like a whole other monster compared to the usual gigs adventurers grab off the board because this one isn't a request, it's a direct order. Most folks pick their own quests, but the guild snatches the right adventurers for emergencies, and even high rankers aren't allowed to refuse. Shin realizes this town isn't just in trouble, it's in a full-blown crisis, and the fact they're forced to run missions like this proves it. The tension in the air is so thick he can practically feel it. Once he finishes laying out the whole mess with the map, Angelina shoots him a thankful look and tells him how much she appreciates every last detail. She snaps into a serious expression and points out that beyond the guy the two of them ran into, something far bigger is about to go wrong. Angelina leans in and tells you to assume the enemy's packed with special gift freaks because when they buff their whole group, they get stronger and stronger, way past, deadlier than she expected. Panic flashes across her face as the truth lands, then she blurts out, "Wait, you mean an Orc King?" Cassandra leans in and asks Shin if he knows about it. He snaps back that he remembers digging it up in dusty old guild records. Decades back, an Orc King led his army out of a cave and straight toward the city. And even with so few soldiers, they still tore forward like they couldn't be stopped. They wrecked everything, so the guild had to throw every A-rank fighter they had at them. And still they managed to lose 2 towns and a ton of lives. Cassandra points out that if even an A-rank was getting crushed back then, it's starting to look like history is slamming us with deja vu right now. Angelina doesn't think this new Orc King hits as hard as the old one, but don't get it twisted. It's still a massive threat they have to crush. Before the enemy's power swells anymore, Shin wastes 0 time, locks eyes with Angelina, and tells her that he and his whole crew are ready to jump in and help. He's convinced this is the right play, and Cassandra jumps in. "Yep, this is the perfect first mission for us now that we're officially B ranks." Angelina lets out a relieved breath, thanks them for stepping in, and tells them to go over the plan before the news hits the public. A few days roll by after the talk about the Orc King, and things start to feel like they're slipping back into place. Back at the guild, Shin and Cassandra stride into the main hall, and right away, people start pointing, whispering, and staring like something big just happened. Cassandra apparently wiped Jason out, then she leans in, says she's getting tons of attention, shoots back that it's really both of them, and asks if they should start moving. To find Angelina, she's right there, smiling wide, greeting them like they're old friends as she gets up. She cuts straight to it. She tells them the guild officially ordered an emergency mission, and she doesn't even pause as she declares they're in. Because he treats this place like a second home, Cassandra jumps in too. She's got no real reason to say no, especially, there's a special bounty for crushing monster after monster, especially if you do it for the gifts. So she's standing there, basically itching for a real fight, and admitting it right up until when, as a voice blasts from the back of the room, everyone snaps their heads around because now the other adventurers are staring at Shin's group like, "Wait, are you guys really stepping into the front lines?" Then that booming voice cuts in. "Are you forgetting someone?" And it turns out it's Jason. He rips into the scene, bellowing that his party is obviously coming with them. Then he straight up points at Shin and Cassandra and screams that he's going to prove real adventurers only count when they move as one. Right beside the rest of his crew, Theseus and Atalante stand shoulder to shoulder with him, 2 fresh C-class solo fighters who've just joined his ranks. Cassandra doesn't miss a beat. She snaps at Jason for making a scene like that, then turns on Shin and, with pure mockery, asks if he can translate all that noise for her, which, that's the moment Jason snaps. He roars that he'll make them eat those words later, then he slams out a command for his fresh team to follow him straight into the strategy meeting. Eyes blazing, determined, he snatched every reward for himself, and as they marched toward the conference room, that familiar voice cut through the air and called Shin's name. It was Castor, the C-ranked Guardian Knight. Who's waving him down with her partner Pollux? She beams at both of them, says it's been ages, cheers them for finally making it to C-rank, and Castor. He breaks into a grin, saying the promotion is the whole reason the guild went after them for this emergency. Then Shin's eyes well up and tears start spilling as playing the proud dad card and bragging about how much they've grown. Yeah, Pollux isn't buying it. He's grumbling, whining that he doesn't need that. Trying to teach him something new, then he slams the door on it almost instantly. And once everything finally settles, little Castor leans in, eyes blazing, begging for the moment. She finally went toe-to-toe with a gift holder monster Cassandra. He clocks the girl's wild, intense energy and blurts out, "Are you even okay?" Sheen just laughs it off, bragging that she's way tougher than she looks, and he's gotten used to her over the years, but the second he gives a real answer, his face turns stone cold, saying the fight was almost impossible to survive. And if they ever feel that kind of aura again, they'd better run. Shen tries to brush it off, saying she's just weak. But Pollux whips around with a murderous stare, then he growls, brother, like he's daring him to finish the sentence. And it makes him yelp with pure terror watching the two of them go back and forth. Cassandra can't shake the feeling that their bond is totally messed up, and she clocks her energy and fires back fast, saying, "Sure, it looks like chaos, but you and me, we actually vibe great." And Cassandra still doesn't seem totally sold. But Shin just won't stop. He blurts that Pollux is all pure energy, while Castor is the careful, sharp-tongued thinker, and Shin's mind is racing as he cuts off mid-sentence like, they balance each other out perfectly. Cassandra's gaze slips away and she blurts that she's a little jealous because the connection between them is something she can't even compare to anything. She flashes a warm smile and tells them to stop overthinking everything. Just build their own kind of connection, so they decide to. Shin storms into the meeting, lays out the entire plan step by step, and makes it clear the scouts are already out there then. He points the advanced team to spearhead the main force straight for the cave. He admits he's still terrified about Lime, then tells Cassandra he's going to push for the advanced team because he needs a better chance at getting answers. Cassandra slaps him a quick fist bump and promises they're going to shut this down for good. Shin can't even argue because he's all in. Just 3 more, and once the plan clicks into place, those heavy supply carriages roar out toward the mountain. After seeing how smoothly he clicks with the twins, Cassandra leans in and says she's pretty sure she knows just about everyone. And Shin breaks it all down, tracing it back to his days as a rookie instructor for the guild. And Cassandra can't hide how impressed she is, because he's doing way more than normal adventuring. He tells her he even talks to monsters sometimes because trust is everything, until one time it all backfired, and another guy decided he was a monster and lunged at him. Still, that reputation pulled him into a sweet deal. He snagged a brand new mithril sword from a local blacksmith who, Cassandra is obsessed with how incredible he is, but Chen brushes it off like he's only here because some senior told him to be, shoved him through training. Then she asks, "Was that person an adventurer too?" And her voice drops, just a little. Cassandra stays quiet and doesn't shove it in his face. She just keeps her word, promising to be a partner he can finally stand behind. The two of them finally burst into the main guild encampment, a massive setup perched right beside the mountain. Pollock clocks them on the spot and fires off, "You ready to head in, Biden?" While Castor just stands there, radiating pure annoyance. Shen scrambles in at the last second to coach the twins stay alert, don't rush, and if real resistance hits, don't play hero, run. Castor snaps back at Shin, barking that his only job is to crawl home alive with the intel, and when Shin tries to say he doesn't need the lecture, Castor cuts him off mid-sentence. Pollock bursts in with a massive grin, politely telling Shin to back off for a minute, then whips around, grabs her brother, and drags him into motion. Shin tells them thanks, and Pollock breaks down mid-talk, urging him to take care of himself while Castor just slumps there, completely wiped out after the whole exchange. But then Pollock suddenly gets shy, stares at Shin, and asks if she can trade him a favor once she makes it back safe. Shin just shrugs and says he's fine with it, as long as it's something he can actually pull off. She lights up, thanks him with all her heart while back there. Castor starts losing it, screaming at her for the very story she's trying to build. Then the two of them bolt straight for the mountain. Shin watches them sprint off and can't stop wondering if they'll really be okay out there by themselves. Cassandra cuts in, saying those twins aren't just C rank, they're a whole level past it, thanks to their rare abilities and the way they move as one. And Shin can't help sounding curious. He grills her about those special skills, but then shrugs and tells her to ask them herself later. He decides it's time to move head out and handle their own business too. Shin stands there for a heartbeat, sucking in one deep breath before they take off. Shin pokes at Lime with a stick, grilling him about any changes lately. Then Lime snaps, saying things have gotten weird, huge groups of people keep showing up, and pig devils are everywhere, digging holes like it's their job. Lime huddles up against Cassandra, absolutely wrecked with stress, and swears it's terrified that everyone's invading its home, so even its usually perfect skin is breaking out. Shen hustles in to soothe things down, saying the guild's gearing up for a huge hunt, so those slimes lurking in the shadows should be perfectly fine. But something about the tale makes Shin's skin crawl. He can't shake the fact that pig demons don't normally dig holes, and he's never once heard of them being clever enough to keep habits like that. Cassandra looks totally rattled and breathless as Lime tries to yank Shin's attention back, the little slime blurting out that it's got something huge to tell him while Shin just freezes, staring at Cassandra like he can't believe what he's seeing. Meanwhile, Pollux is out in the field with her brother, pointing straight at the mountain, and she tells him she can't help thinking she's insanely lucky. Even after goblins tore through her village and shoved her into becoming an adventurer, somehow it all ended up working out. Castor dives into the battle, carving through an orc with ruthless slashes as memories hit him. He knows he and his sister were born with rare gifts, so money was never their real worry. But Pollux unleashes a blast of wind magic, and memories hit hard. She thought life had zero meaning anymore until Shin showed up and gave her a reason to keep going. She was still reliving the moment Shin taught her to wield a sword. He didn't pity her like some kid who'd lost everything. He treated her like a real adventurer, and that one choice flipped her whole world. Pollux can't stop thinking about how Haoshen's words are still powering her forward even now while Castor spots the blood, snaps into action, and tells her she's badly hurt. She prays she can finally be useful to Shin on this hunt, and she shoots her brother a heartfelt thank you for always having her back. Castor grins, says he gets exactly how she feels. Then he starts to hint at what'll happen if they actually manage to get back, reminding her she's trapped in enemy territory and has to stay razor sharp. Then right as Pollux starts to nod along, she gets cut off by a sudden brutal crash booms through the whole area so loud it freezes both of them mid-breath as they snap their heads up. And then boom, a huge pack of furious boar demons burst out of the cave's darkness and came charging straight at them. Monster after monster keeps pouring in, and it's too much to even breathe. Then the two of them just freeze on the spot, stunned out of their minds. Pollux shoots a quick call to the wind for help, but Castor sees the threat coming and screams for his sister to get back. Meanwhile, Shin's frustration boils over, too many people swarm around, and his bats can't lock onto a thing while Cassandra frets, wondering if they should have just left the guild staff furious behind them. Shin tells her couldn't just gamble with 2 lives like that. Not when he was still reeling from the bizarre boar demons Lime had brought up earlier. Shin barrels ahead, snapping at Cassandra that she's the one who spotted the danger, and tells her there's no point calling themselves a team if they don't move right this second. So Cassandra thanks him, her face melting into something gentler as she urges them to apologize to the guild staff together once everyone's safe. And they spot a tiny demon lurking nearby. Shin tells her, don't just destroy it, they have to snag the little guy alive. Cassandra agrees on the spot, then speeds up fast to slam the distance shut. But once they trap it, she's completely thrown, staring at how it's acting like she has no idea. So she shrugs off the weirdness and fires back, demanding to know where the people who were fighting disappeared to. He pins his blade against the creature's throat and demands an answer. Instant panic hits the goblins, and they start sweating and blurting out disgusting sounds like their minds just snapped. Shin hears the harsh sounds of a real fight tearing through the depths, and the moment hits him. Those battle rumors weren't lies after all. The tiny goblin grabs that opening and bolts for its life, vanishing into the cave's dark like a shadow. Cassandra doesn't even blink, she's over the blood-soaked mess, and she snaps at Shin that it's time to go. Shin can't wrap his head around how fast she moved. Deeper in Castor, he's trapped in a desperate brawl shield up, straining with every breath as those hideous pig demons come charging straight at him. Pollux barrels into the monster chaos, screaming at the top of her lungs. The two siblings get boxed in from every side, and Castor snaps, asking how many more of these guys they've got to fight. Then Pollux admits the waves just won't quit. Castor is already gasping for air, but he grabs Pollux's attention and promises he'll carve out an opening so she can slip out and escape. Pollux shuts that down instantly, no snapping back after he drops something that stupid. But right before they can even start arguing, a monster barrels into Castor's face. He opens his mouth to speak, but Pollux shrieks for her brother as he barely yanks his shield up in time, and the moment it clicks into place, he realizes he's in deep trouble because if he doesn't stop what's coming, everything's over. If this fight keeps blasting on like this, neither of them's walking out alive. The orc crashes down with a brutal swing, and Castor braces for the worst because he's sure he has to save his sister. Right then, a shadowy blur tore through the monsters like lightning, and Castor stood there, stunned, speechless. Shin bursts out ahead of them, blade poised, checks if they're alright, then tells them to step back and let him handle the rest of the fight. Shin plants his feet, roars at the monsters, and dares them to back off because if they don't, they're getting wiped out. The orcs don't even flinch, they hoist their weapons, snarl that they'll slaughter the humans, and that's when the real tension kicks in, making it hits Shin that talking is pointless. And he starts to wonder, do they even hear what he's saying? Or are they just moving like puppets on a will that isn't theirs? He stares at his blade, stunned by how insanely amazing this mithril is. Then his eyes narrow, and he's like, wait, I've got a better idea. And the moment hangs there right before he makes his move, and drops to one knee to tell Pollux he's borrowing her staff. For a moment, she just says, okay, then snaps into place, ready to try something brand new. He tells Lime to deal with 2 monsters while he snatches the lid Lime's all in, and Shen just glares down the horde as he whips the staff around and blasts a wind blade so razor-sharp it cleaves an orc straight in 2 like it's nothing. He surges forward without slowing down, shouting into the wind and letting the wild energy swirl around him. He plows through every monster in the area like they're nothing, while the siblings stand back and stare. He stares at the staff and the thought hits him. If this is the real power, maybe he can finally stand toe-to-toe with a gift holder. Shin freezes in place, eyes blazing wide, finally snapping together the truth about who Cassandra really is. Cassandra steps up and snaps that she didn't even get a chance to help him out, then brushes it off like it's nothing, saying, if that's the best those things can do, it's no big deal, but he admits Orc's movement felt totally wrong, and Cassandra agrees her special gift picked up nothing at all. He's got to wake up and realize something way worse is brewing, because his gut is screaming that this whole situation is about to go horribly wrong. He rushes over to Pollux, and the second she cracks her eyes open, she looks utterly spent. Then she whispers to Shin, asking if she's just dreaming. Shin leans in and swears it's the real deal, then shoves something into her hands and orders her to drink it right down. She takes a sip, grimaces instantly, and declares that that nasty taste is all the proof she needs. She's definitely awake. Seeing her complain a little makes your chest loosen because deep down you know she's finally doing okay. Suddenly, she snaps, grabs him in panic, and blurts, "Something happened to my brother while I was out." But her brother, Castor, is doing great right there in plain sight, practically shaking with awe as he stares at Cassandra and blurts out that she's a red-haired angel. Sheen tells them they only made it because the two of them dug in and refused to budge. Then Pollock drops into a deep bow, thanking them over and over, while her brother just stands there, cheeks blazing, totally blushing. Cassandra bursts out that she's just relieved they made it in time to save everyone, and Shen cheers that they crushed it just by holding on, while Pollux looks up at them with raw, hard-earned respect. Sheen snaps that they've got to turn back right now and report every detail to HQ, and Pollux goes blazing with confidence, swearing they'll never fall for the same trick again. She grabs her brother and yanks him toward the exit, but he's frozen, starstruck, still whipping his head back to stare at Cassandra like she's straight up an angel. The moment they're gone, Shin urges everyone to sweep the area around them, and just when they're about to move, Cassandra blurts out Yuya's name, and right then Lime the Slime starts trembling, blurting out that Shin has got to see something that's right there. Shen trails him to a tight little opening carved into the rock wall. He peeks inside, and the second he sees it, his face crumples because he finally understands what he's staring at. He doesn't hesitate for a heartbeat. He rockets into the back of the cave, charging straight toward a figure slumped on the ground. Chenyol went hunting for Swain and found the orc warrior sprawled there, drenched in blood and carved up with deep cuts. Cassandra points at the guy they just found, and Shin's eyes blow wide when he clicks that this is the gift bearer he met back then, the orc warrior Swain. Lime the Slime tilted his head up, staring at the chin, and asked if he could use his powers to heal the big guy's wounds. Shin snaps that he can't fix everything overnight, and Cassandra immediately loses it, because they're still supposed to be tracking those pig demons right now. But Lime lays it out. This orc wasn't just attacked, he was swarmed by an entire crew, the same exact thing that happened to him before. Shin makes up his mind to help, tells Cassandra to get ready because if she tries anything while he's working, then shit's about to go down. She can't believe her ears, she screams at him, saying that creature is literally their enemy. But Shin explains it like this because those wounds were dealt by Lime's own kind. Lime felt forced to step up and take control. He's convinced that Tiny Slime felt sorry for him because it was trapped in the exact same kind of mess he went through. Plus he tells them, if we save her, we might finally uncover some real intel on what's happening out there. Cassandra lets out a weary sigh and admits she doesn't really have a choice yet, she thinks. Just maybe they can talk it out. Shen thanks Cassandra for showing up, and she admits she'd think anyone else was absolutely crazy for pitching this idea, but now that they're partners, she's ready to trust Shen's judgment, and rubbed his face and broke into laughter, because her saying that ended up being insanely embarrassing. He snaps into focus, fires himself up, and declares, "All right, work time." So Shin zeroes in on the orc, unleashing his healing power to patch up the guy's wounds. The light slams into Schwain's chest and erupts in a wild, blinding glow. Cassandra freezes in utter shock, blurting that he's healing at lightning speed and then admitting her own magic could never pull off anything like that. She keeps staring, stunned to the core because she's never witnessed anything like this. And then she can't help wondering, could this be just another piece of Shin's gift? The orc starts to groan, then slowly pries his eyes open, looking dazed and out of it as he stares ahead. He cranes his neck at the two of them, both just standing there, and he's left trying to figure out exactly who the heck but Lime immediately starts bouncing around, telling Schwain straight up that these guys are absolutely not bad people at all. Schwain snaps at Lime that he has zero idea what the slime's talking about, then whips his gaze to Chin and asks if he's the same guy who saved his life back then. He snaps back to the slime, blurts out a quick thanks, and calls him little guy, which, right? As Schwain finally cracks and admits he knew Shin would show up sooner or later, because this is the second time the humans had to scramble and save himself. Shen only smirks a little, saying he never thought they'd bump into each other again like this, yet the orc warrior fury hits him like lightning. He jabs his finger at Cassandra and snaps, "Are you with Shin?" Then he demands their rematch starts right now. Schwain hits the brakes, admitting he can't stomach a fight to the death while he's still in debt, so he tells Shin to name whatever he wants as payment. He keeps insisting that once the debt is paid, Shin has to honor his promise and get into a real fight, while Shin can't shake the question, why is this guy so obsessed with battling Cassandra? Cassandra fires off, "So what's the deal?" And Shin tells her the orc's itching to end their final battle, but he's not exactly ready to force it right this second. She fires back, annoyed, asking if Shin can really pull anything useful from that guy, and Shin grins like, "I'm going to give it everything I've got." Shen drops into a seat, wastes no time, and bluntly asks Schwain why those other orcs were hunting him in the first place. Schwain pauses for a beat, then starts mapping out how he's going to explain everything his way. Their leader finally learned the truth that he'd butchered his own people, And still he let Shin's crew slip away, and now they were already on the purge list since they didn't back the surface invasion. Shin feels guilty right away, apologizes for dragging that orc into this disaster, but Schwain slams it shut and tells him to drop it. He made his own moves, and that's none of Nachen's business. He actually looks strangely happy about it, grinning like he finally got his chance to wipe out the strongest of his own kind. Shen asks if Schwain is really over it after his own friends turned on him. But Schwain snaps back that those non-stop hits didn't hurt him. They powered him up. He shuts down any urge to stay bitter over the betrayal and straight up ends the thought standing. He grew tall and basically confessed, "Yeah, I'm just doing what I want," so he could hunt down strong guys to fight. Then he caught himself and snapped, "No, that's not the whole truth." The orc flashes a grin and growls that all he lives for is a brutal brawl. Then he steps up and offers to back Shin's as they go hunt the big boss. Then he blurts out that he can't stand Haoshin's brother, and Shin's left completely baffled because where in the world did a brother even come from? Sheen's totally thrown, blurting that the leader can't really be his brother, and she even remembers Schwain talking about some special power, but the orc bursts into laughter, jabs a finger at him and says, "You're pretty smart just like your brother." Schwain steps right into his space and snaps that if you really look, they've even got the same twisted expression, and that lands hard on Shin because turns out the brother has the same power too. He can command anyone he's already beaten, no questions asked. Even though he's the weakest body in the tribe, his brain is pure fire, so when the time came, he outsmarted everyone and ended up leading the whole group. Schwain points out the brother even bragged about letting someone slip away on purpose just to bait the humans in, though the orc admits he never really had the full invasion plan anyway. Shen's eyes blow wide as he demands Schwain repeat it, and he realizes, oh no, the mess is way bigger than he ever imagined. Panic hits him hard as he fears the whole crew just walked right into an orc-made trap, straight through the danger with no escape. The guild has no clue they're playing against a genius, and Cassandra realizes the whole assault mission is about to spiral out of control fast. Shen lays it all on the table for Schwain. "We're going after my brother, and we might have to kill him on the spot." Then he turns and asks if the orc is really cool with that. Schwain's eyes go ice cold as he tells everyone he's done protecting his brother's secrets, basically handing Shin the green light to go ahead. Do what you have to, because for orcs, power is the only currency that matters, and Shin just nods like, "Got it, I understand the deal." Sheen bursts into motion, shouting for Cassandra, insisting they have to haul ass right now because everyone's in deep, serious trouble. As they start sprinting, Cassandra fires off a question. Did he snag any real useful info? Shin snaps back that the leader is the absolute worst kind of person, and they'll have to talk on the run. Time is running out meanwhile in a whole other corner of the caves. Jason and the Golden Fleece Knights are already charging deeper, pushing in after it. They've taken the guild's job, and now they're pushing straight toward the spot they're sure the main orc force is hiding. Jason starts yelling that they're taking way too long to get there, and the stress is boiling over because if they keep dragging their feet, someone else is going to beat them to it. Atalante snaps at him to calm down because they can't just charge in blindly when they don't even know where the attack is coming from yet. The fury in her own eyes says she's just as fed up. Jason jabs a finger at the ceiling and tells her to just ask a bat for directions. Then he starts clowning her, questioning whether she's even a real hunter if she can't use animals. She shoots back, "I'm not talking to random bats, maybe if it was a pet she'd had since she was a kid, but this is just plain ridiculous." Jason starts to panic, wondering if things would have been different if Shin were still here, because right now this disaster feels unavoidable until Medea steps in and snaps, "Stay cool," but Jason can't shake the fact that he's the one who pushed to kick Shin out in the first place. Then Medea cuts in, reminding him he's the same person who called the guy useless, so Jason snaps at her, accusing her of trying to pin everything on him. Then he scrambles to justify it, saying if Shin had just been more dependable, they'd never have had to banish him. He's spiraling, stressing over how his squad is supposed to be the top B rank crew, and he snaps at the girls, "Show them what you've got right here so we can finally climb to A rank." Jason spits that he'll never lose, not to anyone, and not to Shin, then shrugs off the fact that they're behind on intel, bragging that they've still got the power, and they've got what it takes. And he fully buys his own hype, believing he's the ultimate hero of this story. Then there's Atalanta lightning on her feet. Even if she's only C rank, she's still a total game changer for the team. Medea's right there, this legendary mage armed with spellwork so powerful it feels illegal. Rounding out the crew is Theseus the Beast Killer Paladin, who just clawed her way all the way up to B rank. Jason grins and says they've got 4 heavy hitters with serious combat gifts. Sure, he knows Shin's teamed up with that demon woman Cassandra now, but he's still brushing it off like it's no big deal. Theseus is riding pure confidence. She's dead. Sure, she'll never lose as long as they charge straight in and clash head-on. Jason bursts into the giant fortress under siege and demands to know what's going on right when an archer clocks him and yells his name. Medea snaps out that the hard part isn't over yet. The stronghold's still chewing them up. Then the archer guy chimes in, saying, "Sure, A few squads slipped inside, but they're trapped there all the same. Then boom, this gigantic orc boss crashes into the center of the brawl, and someone blurts, "Wait, is that the guy?" Jason just grins and says a hero has to earn it through a trial by fire. Then he realizes they might have missed their chance, but he swears fate has his back right now. He rallies his team, shouting that they're taking this monster down and then they'll crack open a brand new start for the Golden Fleece, with celebration waiting right after. Jason blasts out, "Everyone listen up," and orders the other fighters to pull back, saying the rest of the battlefield belongs to his crew. Meanwhile, Shin, Cassandra, and Swain tear toward the chaos. Shin says the orc's current chieftain was swapped out when his brother took over. Cassandra tells Swain he's surprisingly thin for an orc. Usually that means he's the brainy one. And then Shen presses, asking what his brother was really like. Swain looks back and admits that his brother had a weak body because the whole tribe kept mistreating him. Schwan keeps going one day when he wasn't around. His brother got shipped out to hunt with a totally different crew of orcs. And he can't quite piece together what went down in those woods, he's still not sure. Then boom, those orcs beside his brother snapped to attention and started obeying his orders. And soon he was making them do all the hunting for him. Ocean asks if this was the instant the brother's special gift finally snapped awake, and Lime swears that's exactly what went down. Swain tells him his brother used to be a good-hearted guy. Then the more followers he pulled in, the more violent he got, and the bigger his ego swelled. And it's only getting worse as he keeps going. And here's the wild part. Anyone he beats in battle is forced to obey every single command he barks because his power literally makes it happen. It didn't take long before he became so powerful that he seized control of the tribe's old chieftain. But then his ambition didn't stop at the tribe. Soon he was dreaming even bigger, promising he'd rise up and rule the entire surface world. Swain swears he tried to stop him because he knew the world was too vast, but Shin clocks that's exactly why the two brothers ended up fighting, leading to Swain gets slapped with exile, and he tells Shin, "Don't look so wrecked," while Lime chimes in that it's the one reason they could even cross paths again. Swain genuinely sounds fired up. He's actually glad he gets to go all out and fight the former chief to the death. Like, for him, it hasn't been all bad, and Shin and Lime are still grinning as they stroll, but Cassandra suddenly snaps the vibe. She makes them stop and wait. She tells them the guild still swears the chief is the deadliest orc around, so even if they crush the forces in front of them, it still won't be the end because the real threat is the chief. It'd be a nightmare if the orcs hit again while we're unguarded. Shin agrees, and Swain goes, "Then we take down the true chief for real." Meanwhile, that giant orc horde is crashing onto the battlefield and flooding every inch with pure chaos. This is full-on war. Jason is losing it, screaming that they should have shattered these puny enemies already, even though they hauled extra people in for this mission. Medea shrieks for him as arrows rain down like a storm, and Jason just fires back that he's got it, but he has to bark at Theseus to keep out of the line of fire, and she tries to explain, "Trust me, it's way easier said than done." While Adelante tumbles into the chaos, screams as the assaults keep crashing down Then Jason snaps and starts cursing because everything's crumbling, yelling at Theseus to focus on healing while she screams straight through the chaos. Jason is starting to snap, sweat pouring off him as he fumes about how painfully slow everyone is at catching the situation. To the point where it's gotten so desperate, he even thinks Shin would have handled this better. Then he whips his sword into the next wave, and you can tell he's done for, because these orcs just keep marching in, wave after wave, like they're never running out. Medea snaps out a warning while her magic swirls into place, and Jason just screams back, "Do it, go for it!" He's braced for whatever disaster she's about to unleash. She unleashes a colossal blast that tears straight through the chaos, carving out a giant lane and wiping out a whole stretch of orcs with one single shot. Jason praises her for a job well done, then slams the brakes on celebration because right now, the team is charging in to seize that opening. So Theseus tries to tell her she's not fully back yet, but Jason snaps back, telling her to jump right into the fight and stay ready to back him up the second she's healed. And then he leaves the whole crew surges toward the entrance of the next area. Jason storms ahead, barking orders to move, and Medea barrels right after him. He spots a few of the other guys, checks if they're still alive, and swears he's got their backs. Then the soldiers stare at him like they've just seen a ghost, because they're only relieved he finally showed up. But that relief lasts about 2 heartbeats, because right in front of them, a hulking orc warrior looms over a pile of bodies, and the sight is pure nightmare fuel. Jason calls the soldiers together and orders them to guard the media with their lives, then fires off a question, "Was it you who caused the ground to shake?" He doesn't wait for an answer. He tells them he's counting on them to stay razor sharp. Jason locks eyes with the towering enemy, sweat dripping as he wonders, is this monster really the boss of the whole area? And Swain just stands there like a full-on nightmare, gripping this massive broken sword that's soaked in enough blood to make your stomach drop. Jason fires up his own resolve no matter what this guy throws at him. He's bringing him down because this is the moment he's been craving, becoming a real hero. So he rockets straight into the chaos, slipping under a massive swing by a breath and hunting for the perfect opening to strike back. One of the guys in the stands is staring like he just saw a ghost. He can't believe Jason is charging that giant monster solo, and Yeah, he's calling it straight up insane. Jason blasts out to the group that his move is happening right now, and they'd better be ready to jump in fast when someone immediately yells back, "We've got it!" He slams his blade into the orc's heavy strike, but the impact nearly knocks him off his feet, and Jason instantly knows that this orc is stronger than anything he ever dared to expect. The pressure is crushing him, and he can feel that if he keeps pushing like this, he's going to get buried alive in it, but something about this guy's fighting feels wrong. Jason can't shake the thought that a meathead like him might not be the real boss steering all these orcs. He slams the brakes on his own thoughts and refuses to dwell on Shin gritting his teeth. He forces himself to stop imagining what would happen if Shin were actually standing right here. Jason flashes a confident grin, tightens his grip on his weapon, locks eyes with the enemy, and declares that no matter what this ends right now, the whole crew crashes in as one, dropping from above for a massive, perfectly timed strike, aiming every last ounce of power right. At Schwain, the blow lands like a thunderclap. Dust and bright light explode outward, swallowing the whole area in one massive cloud. With the smoke still choking the air, Jason shouts, "Did I finally get you?" But the people right behind him look just as jumpy. Jason spots it through the haze, then it vanishes before he can grab it. Schwain still stands there, clutching the burned body he once took the hit for. Jason is absolutely disgusted. He's staring at that guy like, seriously, you just threw one of your own henchmen in front of you as a human shield to save yourself. And he rages and yells in total frustration as he realizes his best shot didn't even leave a scratch, so he can't afford to vent for long because a colossal shadow drops over Jason in an instant before he can even blink. A massive force swings in his direction, and he barely has time to brace before so. Schwain grunted and whipped his broken blade in a massive arc. Pure rage in the swing, and it carved straight through everything in one brutal hit. Medea just stands there, trembling like she's about to snap, her face drained of color as she starts to fall apart, too terrified to even force a single word out. Jason launches himself forward with full force, yelling for his attack to hit before it's too late. A blade slices through the air, then wham! It slams straight into his chest, and blood erupts as he gets crushed by the brutal impact. Medea just stands there, frozen solid, watching everything unfold like it's in slow motion, too stunned to move. Just barely stopping mid-sentence, leaving. She bolts away, leaving her screaming Jason's name behind while he crumples to his knees, blood pouring onto the cold ground. Jason slumped there in his own blood, broken and stunned, staring at how his life spiraled into this until right in the middle of... But Medea keeps yelling for him as he spirals into his own thoughts, swearing he was meant to be a legendary hero, only to get absolutely smashed by those orcs. The massive orc Schwain looms over them, and as Jason realizes the whole front line has finally crumbled, panic hits like a punch. With the last scraps of strength, he jerks his head up and tells Medea to run, get out of there, and save herself. Schwain hurls up this massive slab of stone to crush them both, and Jason just stands there staring like he can't believe the story is ending right here. Then Shin explodes forward, throws himself in front of the strike, and slams the brakes, yelling at Jason, "What the hell are you doing here?" Shen slices straight through the orc in his way and barrels forward without a single second of hesitation as he, Cassandra, and Lime sprint across the battlefield, racing to reach the others before it's too late. Shin shoots back, asking if that massive tremor was Medea's magic, and Cassandra fires off, "We're close, so move." Then she points the way. They spot a blinding flash up ahead and their hearts race. Could that be the exit? Without thinking twice, they charge straight into the light. Shen barely makes it through, then freezes when he spots Jason slumped on the ground, blood pouring out everywhere. Medea yanks him close, utterly panicked, and screams for Jason to wake up, but Shen won't wait for anything. He shoots a desperate prayer skyward, then charges the giant orc and yells at the freak to swallow his blade. Schwain barely throws his huge stone sword up in time to smack the blow away, and the wild surprise on his face says, "Wait, you actually stopped me." Chin tells Cassandra and Lime too. He's betting everything on them to handle the backup, and both of them shoot back, "Don't worry, we've got this." While Shin locks onto the big brute, Cassandra and Lime dig in and hold their ground, taking the brunt of the rest of the orc army head-on. Schwain leans in and tells Medea he's been craving the chance to fight her, and she surprises him by admitting he's a legit, worthy opponent. Shin dashes over to check on Midra, demanding to know if she's still alive, while Medea just freezes in total shock. Medea spots Lime and demands to know why Shin is here, and the slime smirks back that it's only helping because Shin asked. Schwain totally loses it, screams that he'll kill every human in sight, and shouts at Shin to move before he's the one who dies. Right as the orcs surge forward, the rest of their army floods up the hillside, and it looks like they're about to crush the entire area in one brutal wave. Shin spots the reinforcements barreling toward him. Frustration spikes in his chest. Then he freezes when he notices something on the ground. He lunges forward, snatches the staff out of the air, and tells Medea he's borrowing it because he's about to help level the playing field. The staff rips the energy out of him at lightning speed, but Shen grits his teeth, barrels forward, and yells for the wind to come. A colossal tornado blasts the battlefield and tears straight through the orc lines, hurling them around like nothing but toys. Cassandra couldn't believe she was actually yanking off magic this massive, so she sees the chaos and dove right in. Shin hauls his injured ally up, yells that the flames are Cassandra's, and realizes they've finally made it out safe. But Jason isn't taking any chances. He screams at the media team to back up as the flames keep roaring. Shin groans because the spell backfires and his mana starts going haywire, and the team realizes they've got to get to that injured guy fast. Right as Jason barrels in, firing the question at Medea, was she behind those flames, he freezes in total shock because when he looks up, Shin is standing right there. Right when Jason's about to hit rock bottom, Atalanta and Theseus burst in, but the second they arrive, they lay out just how ugly the situation really is. Shen tells him Lime's power did stop the bleeding, but now Lime is totally wiped out, drained of every last drop of magic. As the pressure cranks higher, Jason shoots a look over and asks, "Theseus, straight up, are you really ready to take on what's coming next?" As they gulp in air, Jason snaps his gaze across the team and demands, "What's going on out there on the rest of the field?" The message hits everything in the back is locked down, so now it's all about hunkering in from the inside and backing the plan up. So Atalanta clocks that it all hinges on getting back to the front where the duo's still battling, and Shin can't help but nod along. Shen snaps at the group, telling them to hunt down the orc commander right now because Medea challenges her about who's really in charge. And Jason starts laying out what's happening right as Atalanta can't even process it, another gift holder. And while Medea tells her it's a lot to take in, Jason turns to Shin and demands, "Are you sure about this?" Shin tells Jason the intel came straight from that orc, thanks to his translator skill, but Jason can't shake the fear that this guy might not be trustworthy at all. Shin claims the orcas fighting is all the proof they need, and Jason stares at the shadowy figure, asking if that's the one. Someone barks that this whole fight is a total eyesore as both sides keep smashing into each other right there in the middle of the field. Swain admits his opponent is brutally strong, and you can hear the respect in his voice as he builds up all that power, then hammers the ground with one brutal, heavy strike using every last ounce of strength. Theseus can't shake the doubt was her last strike too light, as she watches the orc keep charging forward, and when Swain realizes what that woman really might be, panic explodes in his chest, then he clocks the truth. Things are about to get horribly bad for him. The orc troops are going wild, screaming at their archers to rain arrows on the human girl and wipe out the traitor with her. Right in the middle of the chaos, Shin sweeps the battlefield with his eyes, locks onto his target, and yells, "Found you!" She whips around and yells for Atalante to get ready, then flashes him the green light as she steps into position. He jabs his finger at the orc gripping the skull staff and demands she take him down from there right now. Atalante doesn't sell dreams, she just says she'll try, then locks into pure focus as she draws her bow back and nails the target in her sights. She releases the arrow, bam, it zips through the air and slams into the orc commander before he even gets a chance to move. She spots the hit and her eyes light up. She blurts out whether they finally took him down, but Atalante is already shaking her head. The orc commander slammed onto the ground, bleeding hard, his mind reeling because someone actually had the nerve to aim straight at him. Atalante looks crushed and blurts that she messed up, but then she smirks and reassures her, "You did fine," because that guy is totally wounded. Shen bursts into the opening, screaming for the entire crew to swarm the commander now that his cover's been ripped off. The orc commander snaps completely. He's screaming at his soldiers to charge ahead and shield him right now. And then the human soldiers snap too, screaming that they somehow pulled off a victory against a gift holder. And while the first orc scrambles, the rest just freeze in place, drenched in sweat, staring around like they've got no clue what just happened. As the dust finally clears, Shen spots the commander twitching again, demands to know what's making him move like that, but Cassandra cuts him off before he even finishes the question. Diving in from above, she screams that this ends today and swings her blade down like she's sealing the final chapter with a massive strike slices clean through him, and she lands perfectly as the commander finally drops for good, and then she raises her sword to the sky and roars across the battlefield that the pig demon lord is dead. The human soldiers finally grab their second wind. The older guys bark orders to round up the rest of the pigs, and everyone else. Then they burst in to avenge their friends, smashing the last of the orc force as they scatter and scramble to get away. With the dust finally clearing, Cassandra shouts for Shin. He whips around and asks her and the others if they can spare a moment to talk. The orc commander is not dead. He's vanishing into the dark tunnels right in front of them, and he snaps over how everything spiraled. Sure, he figured taking out the mage would guarantee victory, but now he can't stop replaying it. She ignored everyone and went straight for his throat, like she knew something he didn't. And he's convinced she's got wild powers just like his. Fuming with rage, he still can't help but grin, because in the chaos of the fight, he pulled off the swap, trading himself for a decoy and outplaying everyone. And as soon as he starts plotting his comeback, he's already imagining that once he's back in the main lair, he'll regroup, lock in his revenge, and crush a few humans because his powers are still way more than enough. What really wrecks him is his brother, Swain. He slams him as a full-on traitor and can't stop regretting that he didn't beat him into submission with force when he had the chance. He really believed his brother was the only one truly backing him until now, when he's left wondering if all of this was just Swain throwing petty revenge after getting exiled. He's absolutely sickened to think his own blood would side with the enemy, especially after everything he let that guy slip past before he finally burst through a doorway thinking he's escaped clean. Then he exhales in relief, sure he made it just in time. But Cassandra is already there, waiting like she knew. She tells him this is exactly what she predicted, then shrugs it off and admits it was mostly just a lucky guess. Shin says it was a total genius move to get her to scan the guy's face just in case he tried to pull anything sneaky. The orc commander starts freaking out, stuck on one terrifying question. How did these guys track him to his hiding spot? Then it clicks. Shin is the hunter who's been on his trail all along, and in that moment he realizes catching an intelligent orc wasn't some easy trophy hunt after all. He tilts his head up, and there's Cassandra. She's the same one who fought tooth and nail against the former chief. Then she stares down at him and declares, it's finally over, but the commander can't stop getting stuck on one thing. How he's even able to understand Shin's words. Shen tells him point blank he has no soldiers left to hide behind, and the commander snaps to attention because this lucky break might be his only chance. Especially when Shen makes it clear they're not letting him run. As he steels himself, the commander can't forget it. Humans are terrifying, and somehow they trust way too easily. He decides the best play is to throw himself into the victim role, begging, pleading, and pitching a pathetic act as he drops to the ground, screaming for them to spare his life. Even as he secretly plots to kill them all later, he stays in character, hands clasped tight, selling a lie that he never wanted any of this. He keeps begging at Shin's feet, sobbing that there was no way out. He had to do it. Shin just stares him down and drops a chilling thought. The two of them might be a lot more alike than he, and you could feel the desperation in him. He'd do some brutally rough things just to survive and claw his way to the top. Shen stares down and demands, is this all really just about me surviving? Then he turns to the commander and pushes, can you swear you'll keep your distance from the surface forever? Spotting the opening, the commander flashes a tiny, secret smirk and thinks about how effortless it'll be to toy with these humans. The orc commander keeps crawling on his knees, swearing he finally understands while he's quietly snickering, thinking humans are still way too naive to see through him. Shin just stares him down and says, listen, this is for your own good. Like it's the one truth he can't ignore. The commander's jaw drops as she reveals that his special ability doesn't just predict things, it lets him read people's real intentions. Realizing he's out of chances, the orc snaps and snarls at Shin not to mock him, then lunges in for one last final strike. But Shin is insanely fast. He drops him for good before the guy even gets one clean hit in. Cassandra strides up to Shin and tells him he crushed it, because the moment he dodged suspicion with a body double, she realized the orc he faced was the real chieftain all along. And just as Shin finally catches his breath, he realizes that guy was way sharper than he'd guessed, because even if he'd kept going, he wouldn't have lasted much longer. Cassandra clocks the look on Shin's face and jumps in. What's wrong? Right as Shin catches himself thinking that him and the orc aren't so different after all. They were both just clawing for survival with whatever they could get. She locks eyes with him and shoots, are you seriously thinking something like that? And it knocks him completely off guard. But then she just loses it and starts cracking up at him while he fumbles through his explanation, face burning with embarrassment. Cassandra steps right up to Inchin, fires off the truth, and tells him he's nothing like that orc, because that monster only saw his own people as tools. And even with Shin's power holding the strings, she refuses to be treated like a pawn. He decided to ask her to be his partner instead, flipping the whole script on that selfish orc who only ever used his special gift for his own gain. So she jabs her finger at him and makes it crystal clear his power is for helping people, not anything like her. So yeah, they're nothing alike. Sheen just freezes in place, silent as a breath held tight for one beat with... So Cassandra starts panicking, telling him not to shut down on her because going silent makes the whole moment feel painfully embarrassing. She pretends she's unbothered, spins around and dashes off, yelling that everyone else is already gone and they've got to hurry and find the rest of their friends. As they finally wrap things up, Shin strides over to Schwain and tells him clear as day their side is done. The fight is officially over. Schwain clocks the dead chieftain in an instant, shrugs it off, and basically calls it what it is. He tried a nasty, cheap sneak attack and it blew up in his face. Shen lowers his gaze and calls out Schwain's name, but the orc just shrugs it off. He says, they fought to the death, his big brother lost, and that's all there is to it. He glances back to when he was just a little kid. Replaying that moment, the commander shared the tiny bit of meat he had left, and man, it tasted so incredible back then. Then they reveal it before that guy ever got that kind of power. He had this huge, gentle heart, and Walshin just stands there, stone-cold silent. Schwain admits he has no idea how humans grieve their dead, so he hands it to Shin and tells him to take over. And Shin just quietly thanks him without a fuss. They slam fists, and Schwain leans in to remind him not to break that promise because Shun swears he'll be back no matter what. He hesitated for a beat, then watched Cassandra stride off ahead of him. He stays there alone for a while, staring straight at the fortress's massive, shattered gate like it just stole his breath. Later that night, the story cuts to the Corinth Adventurers Guild lights blazing everywhere, the whole place packed, and the air humming with non-stop chatter. Inside the local tavern, the place is crammed with adventurers, all pounding food in tankards to blow off steam after that brutal long day. A massive feast sprawls across the tables as someone shouts, "Grab your drinks!" and everyone clinks their cups in a victory toast for finally wiping out the orcs. The whole tavern explodes in cheers as everyone hoists their mugs high for a huge toast, yelling to celebrate the victory, but just as the noise crashes in, someone shouts, "Shin!" And he and Lime snap their heads around to see who's calling. A bunch of girls swarm in, all whispering, "Is this the famous slime everyone's obsessed with?" Then they beg him, clamor after clamor, just to get one quick pet before they leave. Shin leaves speechless as Lime grins, swearing she'll be right back and acting way too thrilled by the attention. Lime rockets through the sky, slamming himself forward toward the girls, and the second he's there, they start brawling. One girl clutches him tight and whispers how amazing he feels. Shin just sits there, staring as his buddy acts like a full-blown pervert, while Lime secretly laughs to himself because in his mind, girls are way better than guys. Then Shin freezes for a beat, staring at the slime like, "Wait, does it really understand every word people throw at it?" A voice from the side suddenly taunts Shin, cracking up over that massive grin as he stares straight at the K, and then it hits him. Cassandra is right there, already demolishing a huge mug of beer like she's been training for this her whole life. She spots Cassandra's face blazing red, shoots a "How much have you had?" look only for Cassandra to giggle and refuse to spill a single drop. Then she shoves a full mug into his hands and snaps at him that he needs to start drinking too, totally catching him off guard as he snatches the drink, stunned because he never imagined she'd actually like a loud, rowdy place like this. Cassandra snaps her gaze away and admits she tried jumping into a party like this once before only to end up with something worse. It went terribly. Nobody even tried to approach her or strike up a conversation the whole time. She just flashes a smile and shrugs, saying everyone else probably froze up because she's just so beautiful. Having her freak out, insisting there's no way that could be true while Shin just takes a sip and asks her straight up if she really believes it. He doubles down, blurts out that her outfit looks incredible on her, calls her stunning, and lets her walk out with his words still hanging in the air, leaving Cassandra glaring red as she snaps at him that he's just saying whatever sounds good to make her feel better. But after a beat, she glances down with a bashful smile and tells him, "Thanks for the compliment." Anyway, Shin and Cassandra are just kicking back with their drinks when, out of nowhere, a whole group of adventurers strides up and shouts for her. One guy storms right up into her space and tells her battle with the Orc Lord was legendary. Then he begs for her to spill the whole story. Cassandra looks completely wrecked when another guy steps in and demands like, "So it's true you beat the Black Orc and forged him into an ally?" Shin clocks that these are the Vanguard's frontline fighters right as they start singing Cassandra's praises and telling her how much everyone admires her strength. The crowd keeps swelling, and this one guy straight up calls her an angel because she's drop-dead gorgeous even while she's falling apart like this. And seeing all these people genuinely wanting to talk to her now, Shin can't help but feel a real sting of emotion. Cassandra can't stand the spotlight, so panic slams into her. She blurts that she has to make her rounds, then she bolts straight into the crowd. As soon as she's gone, she spots Angelina nearby, looking super uncomfortable, while some random guy keeps trying to flirt and push his luck. So he bursts out that he has a report for her, giving her the perfect excuse to tell that guy she's been called away for work. Angelina lets out a huge sigh of relief and blurts out a thank you for saving her. But Shin just grins and says she only has herself to blame for being so dangerously beautiful. Angelina shoots him a look and says he probably hits on every girl with the exact same line. She keeps pushing, reminding her how he was right after Cassandra and Pollux. Then she drops the bomb, calling him a total flirt, and Shin just stands there, completely stunned. She laughs it off, calls it a joke, then casually hits him with, "By the way, I heard how much work you really put into it." Leaning in with a shy blush, she tells him, straight up, she's genuinely happy for him, and Shin blurts out a quick thank you to seal the moment. He tries to stay humble and credits everything to the guild's support, but Angelina just strides away, humming a bright little tune like she's totally in her own world. Later on, she plops down at a table with Cassandra and blurts out that Jason hasn't showed up at the hall even. Turns out Medea swore the guy healed up perfectly fine, but he still wouldn't show his face at the victory party. She gives a quiet sigh, then shrugs it off and accepts it for exactly what it is. Angelina slaps her hands together, grabs the room's attention, and blasts out that Shin is officially the MVP of the entire mission, which makes Shin freak out, blurting that he barely did anything demanding. Everyone admit they only won thanks to Cassandra and the crew. Angelina refuses to stop, insisting their performance was straight up incredible. But she can't believe he pulled a Black Orc into the group, especially since Alshon was the one who finally found the real chieftain. She brings up how him leading a bunch of monsters is basically the same as that legendary S-rank Demon King, and Shin immediately shuts her down. She's seriously overestimating him. He fidgets and blurts out, trying to convince them, no, he's not their master, not really. He claims the Lime and the orcs are only there to help him, but Angelina doesn't buy a word of it, and she snaps back that she's not overestimating him in the slightest. She closes the distance and tells him to his face that she honestly thinks he's incredible. She couldn't ignore it. She watched him grind to get stronger, all while risking everything, like his life was on the line every single day. It's all because he finally spotted the real Orc Lord, and once he struck him down, he made sure not a single loose end was left behind. She assures him it's totally okay if he brags a little today, implying he should go brag to everyone that he killed the boss. leaving Shin utterly stunned and wordless. Right in the middle of their chat, Yumi suddenly shouts from far away, begging Angelina for just a second of her time. Angelina lets out a heavy sigh, looking totally crushed that they were finally about to hit the good part of their conversation. So he leans in, digs out a whisper for Shin, and says they have to grab a meal together soon. No excuses. As she bolts away, Shin just stands there, gasping for breath, thinking, that was way too close. Until Cassandra bursts in, flailing her arms and yelling his name at the top of her lungs to yank his attention back. She puffs her cheeks and snaps, asking why he never called her out, then calls him mean, and he just awkwardly blurts that he didn't want to get in her way. Her eyes flash with pure intensity, and she tells him straight up that if it's him, then it's totally fine. Then she pushes him hard to drink together. They clink their mugs together, and Chen leans in, squinting like he already knows the answer because she's definitely had one too many. Cassandra's cheeks flare red as she glances at her drink and blurts out that she's been talking about her hero. Shun tells her he totally gets it, because everyone has someone they idolize, and then he leans in and asks the name of the adventurer she's talking about. Pollux keeps her hero's name locked up while she drinks, but once she's safe, she makes sure to shower him with a massive thank you for saving her life in that cave. She admits that for one terrifying second, she thought it was all over for him. Then he lets out a breath of relief because he made it in time, and he was honestly freaking out about her. She snaps her gaze up to him with wide, trembling eyes, completely moved. Then she asks, like she can't believe it, whether he was really worried about her, and then she snaps screaming that she's the happiest person alive as she barrels into Shin so hard he can barely force out her name. Pollux clutches at his chest and blurts out an apology, blaming the alcohol for making him cling so hard. Then she can't help adding that he smells ridiculously good. She locks eyes with him and finally spills the truth she's been holding back for ages, asking if he'll listen while Shin just freezes there, panicking. Right when she's about to spill the truth and finally tell him how she really feels, a voice blasts across the room and screams her name like it's an emergency. It's her brother, Castor, who launches into a scolding lecture about how she's being unseemly, then orders her to lean on him instead of some weakling, right? As he gets cut off mid-sentence, Pollux chews her brother out for ruining such a sweet, close moment, while Castor whips around on the floor, bawling like his shins got completely shattered. Sheen starts to question her right before the interruption hits, then stops himself because he figures this talk can't wait. It has to land another time. Pollux flashes a chilling grin and tells Shin she can't believe he totally brushed her off just to go flirt with other girls, She hits him with pure nerve, then tells him she's literally going to kill him. So all he can do is sweat, staring at her like, why are you this mad? He tries to insist he wasn't flirting with anyone, but he blurts out that he was just talking to girls, and the second the words hit the air, he realizes he's totally dug his own grave. Pollux snaps, shrieks that she'll knock that attitude clean out of him, and just like that, a simple mock battle turns into a brutal, one-sided beatdown that slams them flat on the mat, completely wrecked, face down and ruined. Next morning, Shin swings his window open and stares out over the still, quiet town. Then his mind spirals to Cassandra. Why did he ever think he could beat her? And still, despite it all, he's secretly relieved they've been partners through every punch life throws. It's been a few days since that brutal orc riot tore everything apart, and the guild's finally getting back to its feet, back to running things like nothing happened. So Shen grabs Lime, snatches a small item, and psychs himself up like, yeah, I'm taking this just in case. He stuffs the item into his gear, praying, like really praying, that whatever comes next won't force his hand. With the road to the cave finally cleared again, Shin and Cassandra came sprinting back to keep their promise, standing right there at the entrance. Shin whips his gaze to Cassandra and tells her he truly believes in her. This is the huge moment they've been waiting on. Cassandra's eyes are locked on the moment she tells him she knows every trick in the book, and she makes it clear she's not about to lose, especially with her partner right there watching. She strides into the clearing where Schwain's waiting, shoots him an urgent apology for the delay, and asks how his injuries are healing. Schwain crossed his massive arms and admitted, flat out, that he'd been getting crazy bored just thinking about going out to find her himself. He locks eyes with her and tells her, straight up, if she's the one who's going to take him down, then there's no better ending than this. He tells her it's time to start. The three of them fanned out across the open ground, and the tension snapped tighter and tighter as they got ready to start the duel. Lime stared up at Chin and demanded to know if this fight was even worth it. And Chin confessed that it kills him to watch his friends get hurt, but they've got a promise they won't break. He realizes Schwain kept his promise, so now it's only fair he's got to stand up and do the same for him. As Schwain starts warming up, Shen watches him like, this is how a real warrior shows respect, by preparing for a serious fight against someone strong. Cassandra tells Shin, don't worry about me, I've been itching for this fight just as much as you. And she slides into a low, ready stance facing Schwain, and you can feel it. This is it. The showdown finally kicks off. Cassandra's prophecy and fire-slinging skills crash headfirst into Schwain's unhinged berserker strength, and at that point no one can tell who's really got the edge. They've already battled side by side, so every move is basically familiar now. It's just a chess match in motion, and the first one to outsmart the other wins. Sheen stands on the sidelines, sweating hard, praying for the first move, because the second it happens, everything changes. They both snap into action at once, tearing across the field so fast they turn into nothing but blurs. Swain slams into a huge, heavy swing with his blade, but Cassandra is lightning fast. She zips clean past him, showing dizzying speed, whips by. Lime's head spins, and she realizes she's already landed the first hit. Then she drives the big guy backward with relentless force. She pins him down with a brutal, never-ending barrage of strikes, and Shin can already feel the threat in how hard she's driving him because Shane's about to snap into berserk mode for a brutal counterattack, and he can't stop himself from wondering how in the world is Cassandra going to survive it. Swain breaks into laughter and tells Cassandra she's not bad at all, then jokes that if she were an orc, he'd propose to her on the spot. Cassandra just flashes a smile and tells him she has no clue what he's saying yet somehow. She's still cracking up and loving every second. She surges forward to pin Swain under the pressure, refuses to back off, and winds up for a brutal overhead smash. That massive blade slams into the dirt with a thunderous crash, only to realize the big guy was playing a whole different move. Shen's watching from the side, and he totally snaps, screaming because he cannot believe Swain actually kicked his own sword just to bend its path. Cassandra doesn't even blink. She stays locked in on the chaos, hunting the exact moment he's wide open to strike, and Swain rockets right back toward her, yelling that she'd better not mistake him for the same guy she dealt with before, but she zips out of the way like it's nothing, flat out telling him she saw that coming from a mile away, and the orc just freezes in total shock. He skids over the dirt, scrambling to regain control, but he's still too slow to stop what's about to hit him next. Cassandra whips up an upward slash through his chest. Blood erupts everywhere, and she nails the finish with razor-perfect timing. Cassandra looms over the fallen orc and tells him, "If I can knock you out without killing you, I can keep you from losing control and going full frenzy." And while Swain crumples there completely beaten, she leans in close and tells him, "This is officially checkmate." The big guy takes the hit like a champ, straight up calling it a complete wipeout, as Cassandra calmly slides her blade back in. Then he grins and says that final brawl was awesome, with zero regrets, and that's what sets everything up for her. Cassandra swings her gaze to Shin and asks him to translate what the orc is growling. Shin nods immediately like, "Don't worry, I've got this." Shen whips around to Swain and demands why he didn't just let his injuries heal before rushing into this fight. Yet Swain only shrugs back and asks if that's really all Shen can focus on. Swain stares at his hand, mutters that he should have already lost it when that other guy hacked it off, and basically says asking for a full recovery is just asking for the impossible. He locks eyes with them and tells them, "If you're really done with me, hurry kill me. Because if they spare him, he'll just snap back and start attacking humans all over again." Cassandra locks eyes with Chin and says, "I've got a request for you." And Chin shoots back, "No kidding, I was thinking the exact same thing." Chin tells Swain begs him, "Just promise to stop mowing down humans and maybe everything changes," but the orc cuts him off right away. That's impossible. He crosses his arms and snaps at them. His whole reason to exist is to hunt down and fight the strongest opponents. And if he can't do that, he'd honestly rather not live at all. Shin clocks the truth. If they don't have to wipe everyone out, there might be a path where they can coexist, and right? Then he locks in a plan. And he fires the question at Swain. "So your only real wish is just to throw down with the strongest guys?" Then he leans in and says, "Those strong opponents don't even have to be human." Once he drops that, Swain forces Swain to finally admit it's true. And then he points out something wild. Humans are basically the only ones who keep coming down into this cave anymore. Sotian grins and says it only holds as long as that orc stays trapped in this cave. Then he pauses and everything kicks off, and then hits him with, "If you want a real challenge, come with us." Swain is instantly blindsided by the offer. Shin leans in and tells them they're sitting at third place right now, but they're gunning for the #1 spot, the absolute top rank for adventurers, and tells him they're like always bouncing around for different jobs, while Shen warns, "Once we head there, you're going to run into foes even tougher than you or Cassandra, and that's when things start to get dangerous." Leaving, Swain asks if they're really cool with it since he's from a different race, but Chen just shrugs him off, saying they've already got Lime with them, so it's no big deal, and then still, a bunch of adventurers swear they watched him go toe-to-toe with that old chieftain. Then he leans in and tells the orc, "Don't worry, nobody at the guild is going to give you trouble." And Swain just stares down, breathes out, and quietly tells him, "I get it." Shen ends it by telling the orc, "Come with us to the surface." And Swain pauses for half a beat before shouting, "Got it," and the rest cuts off. Shin shoots him a massive thumbs up and tells Swain it's go time, then swears to the orc that out there in the world, it's way more fun than he could ever imagine. And they lock in the deal with a hard handshake, while Cassandra and Lime stare as the new team finally comes together. So the crew heads back to the city, and when they arrive, the town square is packed wall to wall with people sun-blazing, like it's just another normal day leading to. Shin finally shows up to meet Angelina. She's dressed to impress, laughing as she tells him he's way early, and you can practically see the shock hit his face when he realizes it's really her. But Shin is totally thrown off, so he blurts out, "Aren't you supposed to be working right now?" She grins and tells him, Don't worry, a coworker's covering my shift, so she blushes, tells her she looks amazing in those clothes, and even admits he nearly mistook her for some noble lady. Then Angelina starts to turn shy, and it just keeps going. And she admits it's been ages since they've actually hung out outside the guild. Then she nods along, saying he's always seen her swallowed up by work, but then Angelina flips the script and tells Shin straight up he's the one who's been killing it lately, especially after his promotion. Shin goes bright red, and tells her the only reason he's standing here at all today is because she and that other person showed him exactly how. Shin admits that thinking about them hits him with pure nostalgia, and Angelina's cheeks flare red as she recalls how they used to stick together like glue every time they went out. She finally brings up the shop she's been itching to check out all day. Shin grins, admitting he was thinking the exact same thing. He tells them to go right now, but his thoughts spiral back to what could have gone horribly wrong if that person hadn't shown up, leading to a flashback hit them back when the three of them were still fresh-faced adventurers, standing at the guild counter for the very first time. A younger Jason struts around like a total big shot, bragging that he wiped out a horned rabbit with zero effort, then pushes for an even tougher challenge. While Medea glares at him, she snaps, "Shut your mouth," because he's being brutally rude to the guild staff. Shin finally steps in and snaps at both of them to knock it off, then turns and rushes to apologize to Angelina for the chaos they've caused. Jason shrugs it off and fires back, asking if she's taking the rabbit as materials, leaving Angelina rattled because she has to explain that the reward doesn't hit until after the appraisal. Jason tells her to take care of it, then snaps his head toward the group and yells for everyone to move out, leaving that desk sitting there behind them. Suddenly, Jessica, this woman bursts in and tells them straight up, "Gift holders like you are going to be an absolute nightmare to handle." Jessica snapped, "Were you even paying attention?" Then jabbed Angelina for being such a cold, overworked former subordinate, but the vibe turns instantly strange when Jessica offers to massage those stiff muscles. Angelina jerks back, and you can tell she's about to snap and get seriously mad. Jessica laughs it off, tosses him a can of drink as a peace offering, and says it's a brand new product that's supposed to wipe out exhaustion, and while Jessica starts sipping her drink, Angelina leans in, sniffs the herb tea, and swears the smell is unlike anything she's ever tasted. They pause for a beat, just staring at each other before. For a split second, Angelina's tough facade cracks, and she finally confesses she's been feeling seriously worried lately. She remembers Jason and Ath chasing adventure with pure fire in their hearts, but then there's her, this girl determined to become the god of medicine, and it hits her like a gut punch. Why would someone like her be so different? Why would that girl ever hook up with a crew like Shin? When his translator power didn't just feel different, it felt completely out of place for some dungeon party. Jessica hears the whole thing and only smiles, then tells Angelina she should just go ask her directly about it. The chat gets chopped short when Shin pops up behind them, looking shaky, and blurts out, "Am I interrupting something?" And that's where everything leaves. Angelina tried to keep her cool as she asked how she could help, but Jessica spun around and told Shin she had something he absolutely had to see. A dark-skinned hand slaps a whole haul of foraged goodies onto the counter, right beside a mountain of rare mushrooms and weird plants still clinging to their roots. Jessica lunges in for a closer look at the loot, totally blown away by what she's seeing, while Angelina just stands there staring like she's trying to figure out what's going on. She hooks up with the veteran guild member and yanks out a lens to scrutinize the glowing stone, and Jessica blurts that this stuff is insanely rare. Barely anyone even spots it on high-level gathering quests. Heat rushes to her face as she starts sweating, and she blurts, "How did you even get your hands on stuff this rare?" Then she snaps right back, all defensive. "Don't act like I believe you stole it. You didn't steal a thing." He leans in and tells them, "The guild already knows about my gift." Then explains how the animals he befriended in the woods literally led him to the best spots. But Jessica isn't buying it as easy at all. She says it sounds like a total headache. Shan nods and tells her he'll talk to them, but the heavy lifting, like all the negotiations, still lands on him. After a quick burst of thought, Jessica decides to swap those items for some fast cash, then waste no time getting Shin rolling with his official training. She locks eyes with Shin and tells him he's been ridiculously lucky. He cleared his very first quest with zero problems and walked away with a bag packed full of rare materials. Jessica wonders if he even needs beginner lessons anymore, but Shin shoots her a serious look after that first trip into the real world. He realized that he's got to get way stronger if he wants to stand beside his friend, so he throws himself into learning everything he can, right now. Shin stares at his own hands, and the crushing weight of his weakness hits him hard. He knows he can't fight like Jason, but he's desperate to claw his way toward his old friends, even if it's only by a tiny step. He drifts back to those wild days in the old party, seeing Jason spearhead the charge while Asu rained down brutal magic support he could never hope to match, and that's where things start too. That's why he's locked in right now, eyes blazing with purpose, telling himself without a doubt he has to catch up to them. Braced against the guild counter, she leans in and tells Jessica that it's his sheer drive, and only that pulling him to ask her for training. Jessica just smirks, thinking his attitude isn't bad at all. Jessica blurts out that she actually loves people who take things seriously. then pauses and admits she's got one tiny question she can't stop herself from wondering about. She leans in and asks Shin if he can use that same gift to talk to monsters too. No hesitation, he fires back that if the creature has a will, then he can reach it and talk. Jessica snaps her head to Angelina, eyes locked, and blurts, "Angie, you're gonna be a massive pain to deal with." Angelina freezes, totally lost, and fires back, "What do you mean?" Jessica says being able to talk to anything is a goldmine for secrets, but she warns there's a social twist too, and it can get messy fast, like say for example, she tells her to picture the looks on everyone's faces when they stumble on an adventurer just standing in a cave, casually chatting with a monster. Angelina pauses for a beat, then admits it would look absolutely unhinged. She'd swear the poor guy had lost his mind, or worse, was being puppeted by some enemy spell. Jessica meets his gaze head-on and fires off a warning if he treats his gift carelessly, he's flirting with disaster because next thing he knows, he'll get hunted and targeted by other adventurers again. So Sotian's panic detonates. He blurts, "What am I even supposed to do if my only real skill just turns me into the target?" Jessica shoots her hand up to stop him cold, tells him to breathe, and makes him actually listen to everything she's about to say next. She tells him straight what he needs isn't more power, it's a reputation that finally backs him up. She tells him straight up that the only way forward is to earn trust with the guild and the Hitchery family too. So he goes all out to win over as many local craftsmen and merchants as he can, because Angelina tells him there aren't any big jobs for him to snag anyway. And Jessica shoots back like, what can a rookie even pull off by himself? Suddenly, Angelina spots the perfect fix for his problem, and even with that win, worry creeps in because she can't shake the feeling about what Jessica is cooking up. Jessica's eyes go wild as she leans in and tells Shin that she and Angelina are going to drill every scrap of guild and city knowledge into him until there's nothing left. She stands there with full-on confidence, letting the truth snap into place she's a C-rank instructor, and she's straight up asking him to be her personal assistant. When she asks Jin what he thinks, his eyes blaze, then he pounces on the chance at once, begging her to let him take the job. The next few weeks slam into Shin like a blur. He's nonstop, racing around to run errands. Spending every single day off from the main party, he's stuck shadowing Jessica until he's dragging a ton of heavy gear up that massive mountain after mountain. He kept studying until his head spun. And then it hit him. Jessica wasn't just strict, she was a full-blown slave driver. She's teaching him the ropes and throwing him into her massive web of contacts. Then suddenly time rockets by, and before she can even finish, a whole year tears by, and then boom, their grind finally hits, pushing their group's rank higher. And as Jason finally throws a party now that they've hit D rank, Shin's name starts flying around, plus Jason's feeling pretty. He puffed up with pride, slung his brand new sword around like it owned the place, and bragged that he'd reach A rank in no time. He whips around to Shin and tells him he's done messing around with weak people, he needs to start training for real, but Shin shuts it down immediately. He tells Jason flat out that his connections are the only reason that sword exists at all. Asu watches them and realizes Shin's growth just means she's about to get slammed with even more work. Angelina pauses for half a breath, decides she'll actually listen to Shin's wishes for now then. But Jason won't drop it. He huffs, then fires off a rumor he heard an adventurer died at a party. Angelina was meant to be watching. Shin snaps at him to shut up, then lays it out once you reach D rank. Everything hits harder and accidents start happening no matter what. Jason acts like he finally understands, admitting they could get wiped out. If they slack off, then his ego snaps right back on and he starts bragging that a guy like him could never mess up. As Shin turns to leave, Jason yells, demanding where he's going, and Shin just waves him off dead set on heading to a meeting. The story cuts to a bar, and there's Shin totally out cold, slumped on the counter, right beside Angelina, looking like he drank way past his limit. He finally stirs awake in a fog, baffled about how he zoned out. Then it hits him. Jessica told him to get that drink, and now his head is pounding like it's trying to split open. He snags the last bits of Jessica's apology to Angelina for what just went down, then bursts in, asking them straight what they're talking about. Jessica keeps rambling that party just hit D rank and is absolutely buzzing to finally start pulling in real money while she tries to soothe Angelina, swearing this tragedy wasn't her fault. Angelina just stares at the ground, whispering that she never wants to watch anyone else die again. Sheen spots Angelina's crushed, teary face and blurts the question that's impossible to ignore if this job makes her miserable. Why doesn't she just quit? Angelina mutters into the counter that it's impossible because she truly loves her job, and too many people are counting on her, so she just keeps nodding, realizing she's too locked in to ever walk away. Jessica rockets in behind her, telling Angelina to quit doubting herself because her work truly saves lives. And when Angelina finally gives a small, quiet reply, it feels like that fear loosens its grip and she starts to breathe easier. As Angelina slumps out on the table, she snaps her eyes to Jessica, pure panic on her face, and pleads for her not to share the same fate as the others. She's terrified and wants Jessica to stay alive. Jessica flashes a huge grin and just laughs it off, no way she's dying yet. She's stacked up a ton of money for her big goal, and that dream is keeping her alive and pushing forward. Jessica finally cracks it. She can open her own shop, retire, and stop anyone from killing her. And when Angelina hears that plan, she's like, that's awesome. and makes Jessica promise that she and Shin will be the very first yacht customers. Not long after that night, Jessica finally hung up her instructor badge and officially retired, while at the same time Shin was climbing the ranks as a solo adventurer. And then, everything about to change as he ended up taking over Jessica's old job, training the new recruits, and suddenly everything turned into a full-on storm. Everyone was buried in their own lives, so the three of them barely got to hang out anymore like they used to. Angelina was doing great too. She even scored a promotion at the guild, and in her new role she lit up every day, smiling at everyone like she'd finally found her place in life. For a while, everything felt amazing. Shin trained every single day like his life depended on it, and somehow, piece by piece, it all finally started to click. As the days drag on, Shin's hit with a call out from someone nearby, just like the moment he'd been dreading all along. And he whirls around right away, demanding Pollux to tell him what happened. She's gasping so hard she can barely breathe out Jessica's name, but then she finally blurts out that Jessica just got wheeled in, covered in brutal, devastating injuries. Pollux blurts that the whole guild is in full panic right now, but Shin doesn't even hear the details. He just explodes into motion and bolts. At the guild entrance, everyone's freaking out, shouting for people to clear the way for an emergency, while Angelina just stands there, frozen in total shock, and another girl yanks her attention away like, "Don't look or you'll see too much." But before anyone can breathe, a stretcher rolls by, blood streaking the floor. Then it hits everyone at once. It's Jessica, down there, real and lifeless. Shin finally stumbles into the scene, totally panicked, and screams for Angelina like his life depends on it. He spots her safe behind the counter, and the guy nearby exhales like a weight just lifted until Angelina just stares at him, saying the guild staff told her he'd likely show up. Then she gasps out of breath from that sprint, barely on her feet, so Angelina can't. Angelina drops her gaze, heart torn open, and tells him in a shaky voice that she's okay, then begs him to go home for now. Shin stays put, telling Angelina he can't just bail when she looks that crushed. And Angelina snaps back that she's ready to listen if he wants to talk, but before he can breathe, she snaps at him to shut up right, as Shin blurts her name, totally thrown off guard. Angelina finally snaps, screaming, "She's fine," then yelling, "She'll end up dead like everyone else anyway." She keeps pushing, telling him to quit being so sweet and to stay totally out of her life, so Shin just stares at her with a dead serious face and tells her, point blank, that he isn't going to die. Angelina snaps at him, calls him a liar, and screams that Lava, Hayes, and Juna all promised the same thing right before they were killed, and then she cuts herself off. And she reminds him, even Jessica said everything's gonna be totally fine, but now death might be right around the corner. And the crushing reality breaks Angelina. She drops to the floor and sobs in helpless tears. She drops to her knees, brings her voice low, says her name softly, and just like that, she sits there broken, and then he locks eyes with her, all confidence, and swears again that he's not dying. Shan tells Angelina he's got everything her old friends taught him, and he's asking her to trust him now because he knows exactly what he's doing. But Angelina drops her gaze, tears streaking her face, saying that people like her only get to stand there and watch the adventurers march away. She can't shake the feeling that everyone's out there throwing caution to the wind while she's stuck sitting back praying. Then she insists, "That's not who I am at all." Because she's a total pro at spotting the right quests, they can finally step out into the world feeling safe. He tells her that when the world turns brutal out there, all he has to do is picture her smile, and that thought drags them forward. So he locks eyes with her and tells her, straight up, never to say she doesn't do anything for them. Angelina's eyes brim with fresh tears as she whispers his name again, and then she breaks down, throws her arms around him, and sobs her heart out while Jessica watches from the counter. Jessica breaks into laughter about the whole mess, replaying in her head how she truly believed she was finished. But she just couldn't resist teasing Shin for that "I won't die" cheesy line, and he immediately shoved his face in total embarrassment. Angelina's face lights up with pure relief as she tells everyone, "I'm just so relieved Jessica is safe and sound." Jessica flashes a huge grin and winks at her, then admits she kept that promise to her after all. While they're still chatting at the bar, a stranger suddenly blurts out that Jessica's adventurer days are officially done. But honestly, it's a win. She finally opened the shop she'd been dreaming of, and boom, it's already a smash hit with every local girl. Jessica leans in close and whispers to Angelina, asking if the person sitting nearby is really tied to Shin. Angelina was totally blindsided by the question, standing right there nearby, caught off guard. Right nearby, Cassandra just sits at the table with Swain and Lime, and everyone's stunned because seeing her hang out like this feels unreal. Cassandra's cheeks ignite with a blush as she blurts out that she just happened to walk in and catch them, then quickly adds she didn't want to break their moment. Shen tries to slam the tension down by telling Jessica to bring out food for everyone to dig into together. Jessica flashes him a grin while snatching a snack and tells him with total confidence that he's been rocking some seriously smooth moves lately. Jessica says she'll run off and place the order, so the whole crew heads to the terrace and she just throws out a quick, Thanks, before going. He hustles everyone out the door while Jessica waves like crazy from the bar. Everyone clinks their mugs together to celebrate finally finishing the mission, and then Shin and Cassandra start tearing into a mountain of food laid out in front of them. Swain shovels food into his mouth while Angelina and Jessica chat nearby like he's trying to out-eat the whole conversation. Cassandra asks if those are the comrades Shin picked for himself, saying they look like a solid bunch. Jessica agrees, but she admits she's still shocked because he's suddenly started teaming up with monsters, and that's leaving. Walking away from Lime, everyone looked stunned because the bigwigs really did give the party their stamp of approval, all thanks to Shin's big win. Angelina looks completely drained, and she swears the whole ordeal nearly broke her. Jessica shoots him a question. Does she have a name for his party yet? But him and Lime still can't agree on one. Cassandra finally blurts out a name for the crew. Legion and the others freeze, staring, trying to figure out what that word even means. Shin digs it, but he needs the whole crew to be locked in. And once Cassandra and Swain give the green light, then even Lime admits it sounds badass, they all agree on the spot and make it official. The whole crew cheers and clinks their mugs for a toast. Then Shin stands up and declares that starting right now, they've got a new name, Legion. Later that night, she sprints back through the city streets beneath a blazing full moon. He's softly humming as he scrambles to remember the exact way to the house, while Lime and Swain have already checked out, already stuck on one thing, finding food and a place to crash. Just as he's closing in on the building, he spots a person waiting right there by the front door, so he slips behind a wall to vanish, and right nearby a rat perks up snitching that this guy has been posted there since before the sun even set. Shin leans in to check on his tiny informant, slips back around the corner, then he spots something, and his whole body locks up. That tool in their hands feels way too familiar, like you can't afford to look away. He strides right up, stops a few feet short, and asks if she's really a shoujo. The moon blazes high above the city, spilling silver light over the clouds on this eerily quiet night where Asu waits right outside, glaring at him, calling Shin an idiot and grumbling about how long she's been stuck standing there. Shin just freezes on the spot, locks eyes with the hooded girl, and can't stop wondering if it's really her, but she wastes 0 seconds. She just goes, "Hey," and instantly fires back, asking whether the rumors are real that he's about to ditch the Golden Fleece. She's totally blindsided, she already knows, and before he can even get a word out, she rockets into his arms. He's totally clueless. Then she leans in close and everything goes sideways, fast, and she draws in a long sniff, stares him dead in the eyes, and snaps that he smells like another woman, which totally makes Shin lose it. He turns beet red, stammers, and blurts, "What are you even talking about?" He's fighting to stay calm as his words stutter, and he blurts, "Why are you even out here in front of my house at this hour?" So Asu finally leans back, turns serious, and tells him she's not here by accident. She needs to ask him for a favor. Shin's drenched in sweat as Ath asks if he's really scared of F, and Shin can't even believe the words he's hearing. She meets his eyes head on, then demands loud and clear that he come with her to the village of Gorgons. And Shin just freezes on the spot, utterly stunned, and keeps blurting the name of the place like his brain won't take it in. The air feels suffocating, so he scrambles to cut the tension by offering to brew tea, telling her, "Just wait a second while I..." Ath finally relaxes, shrugs off her coat, and flashes her rank B gear like it's begging to be noticed. As they finally settle in, Shun's eyes narrow, he grills her. "So you're one of the ones who agreed to kick me out?" And the suspicion in his voice cuts off right where it says, "Why? Why is she popping up out of nowhere asking for a favor like it's an emergency?" He thrusts a steaming mug into her hands and snaps a warning, "Be careful, so." So she takes a sip, leans in, and demands he tell her every detail about what happened while she was gone, and she clocks the truth fast, like right away, that she hasn't even spoken to Jason yet, and right then he drops into the seat and lays out every detail from his exile, even how they built a whole new guild. Ath isn't smiling for a second. She glares daggers at him and demands to know if he even has the faintest idea why she's furious right now. He started sweating like crazy, panicking to himself, "Why am I the one getting yelled at right now?" He drops his head and apologizes to Ath, admitting he honestly has no idea what to say. Ath lets out a long, heavy sigh and tells him, "Just listen to me for a second." She settled back and fired off, "Did you even bother sitting down and talking it through with Jason?" She hits him with it back then. The three of them made a promise they'd become heroes together. Ath swears Jason would never kick him out for real, but Shin fires back Jason flat out told him he wasn't strong enough. He remembers Jason telling him lately he's been stuck helping everyone else, like he's totally given up on himself. Ath straight up calls Jason a complete idiot for dodging the truth about how he really feels. Then basically shrugs and says he only wanted to light a fire under him, right? With a kick to the pants. Her face tightens and she snaps, "Bet that dumb woman was whispering in Jason's ear while I was gone." Ath starts mocking Medea, mimicking the way she'd test if she's worthy of their group, and points the blame at her as the one who's been poisoning Jason's mind with all that trash. Ath leans in and asks Shin if he seriously didn't know Jason was trouble just because they grew up together. And Shin has no choice but to admit that Jason has always been a total headache. He snaps his gaze away and tells her that even if Jason's behavior is what she says, There are some things nobody should ever say out loud. Shingo falls quiet for a beat like he's carrying something heavy in his chest. Athi snaps her gaze down as she talks. She's not only furious at him and Jason, she's beating herself up because she didn't notice just how hard he was struggling, and it's tearing her up inside. She drops into a deep bow and blurts out that she's truly sorry because somehow she still let him down, even after all these years of knowing him. After he accepts the apology, Ath snaps his head up and demands of point blank, "So, this is it. He's truly never going back to the Golden Fleece party." Shun clenches his fist so tight his arm trembles as he blurts out Athi's sorry, but he locks eyes with her, face set in stone, and tells her he's got absolutely no intention of ever stepping back there again. Athi lets out a breath and says, "Yeah, I get it," admitting that's just how it is, so she warns him not to get too comfortable because she's still going to punish both him and Jason the right way. And that threat sends a cold shiver straight down Shin's spine. Ath shifts the conversation and tells Shin she's got another question on her mind. Then she hesitates, nerves buzzing, and asks what kind of person Cassandra is, deep down. Shin breaks into a smile and praises her as an amazing person, then admits she's a bit shy, but the skill is undeniable. And the best part is that he knows he can count on her. Ath sinks back onto the bed, muttering that it's basically impossible to find someone this dependable unless you're talking about a top-tier beer-ranked guild. She swears she's fine for now, points out there aren't any guild jobs active anyway, and then he asks if it's cool for him to check with his team about everything. Ath flashes him a gentle smile and says thank you, and Shin lets out this huge wave of relief because things are finally back to normal between them. Under a blazing full moon hanging over the city, the night drags on, unbroken and charged. Ath suddenly breaks into a huge yawn, saying she's totally wiped out after talking for so long. Shin sets his drink down and tells her, "Let's hit the guild together tomorrow morning." And she nods along without even hesitating. Suddenly, Ath just plops herself down and announces she's going to bed, and Shin immediately panics. This is actually his room, you know. But she just flushes and shrugs, saying it doesn't bother her one bit, because they've been sharing the same bed since they were little kids. Shun's face goes blazing red, sweat pours down, and he's yelling that they were just little kids back when they used to share the same bed. Ath totally shrugs off his freak out, slides under the covers, and tells him goodnight, like nothing at all happened. Shen lunges to stop your mid-step, shouting that he's not finished talking yet, and then he blurts, "Are you really kicking me out when I'm literally homeless right now?" Ath peeks over the edge of the blanket with a sad little face and tells Shin, "You're being really mean to me, you know that." It totally gets to him, and even while he's still flustered, he exhales hard, tells her she can stay just one. Athi giggles into her pillow, smiling as she tells Shin, "You're really a kind guy after all." She finally caves, blurts out a good night, and plops onto the floor beside the bed as he slides in, helping tuck her in tight. He looks completely wiped, but he grits his teeth and pushes himself to get his own stuff ready because tonight, he's finally going to crash and get real sleep. Right as he tries to move, Ath yanks his sleeve in her sleep and mumbles, begging him not to go. Shin freezes, staring at her like, wow, she's a Sioux, and can't stop thinking about it. He can't believe it. He returns and finds his whole party barely hanging on while his childhood friends are still nowhere to be seen. She looks totally crushed because the moment his other half ditched the fun and kicked off a brand new party, he got left stranded in this town all by himself. Ath tells him it's okay, whispers that she's right there for him, and Shin can't even find the words, he just stays silent. And as dawn bursts in, the rising sun spills over the massive stone building where they'd spent the night. Shin jolts awake at the table, rubs his eyes, and the moment he sniffs the air, he spots something cooking. Then he blurts, "What is that smell?" And then he throws back a huge yawn, grins, and calls out, "Good morning!" as he stretches his back like he's waking the whole world up. But Ath looked at him with a bashful blush as morning simmered in her voice. Then she told Shen she'd made breakfast with troll meat and herbs right there to hand him the fuel he needed. He can't stop thinking it's a brand new recipe, even if the meat sounds weird, but Ath's face is full of worry. She blurts out, "Have I been a nuisance because he looks wiped out?" Shen quickly shuts her down and tells her the truth. He wasn't ignoring her at all. He was just getting hit with this wave of nostalgia, like it all pulled him right back. He tells her to just dig in, takes one huge bite, and his eyes go wide like the flavor knocked the wind out of him. He can't believe it. This pork actually tastes amazing. Ath grins and tells him she knew it was her best work yet. Shin downs the last sip, surprised that the weird ingredients somehow made the meal amazing, then drops the mug and thanks Ath for the food. Math takes a sip from her own cup, and when she hears that he's showing up with a job request, her eyes light up because this isn't just noise, it's real progress. And then the convo snaps to Jason, who tells you he hauled back some serious intel from his travels because he's on a mission to track down everything he needs to build a panacea. And Jason makes it crystal clear he wants to tap into Shin's exact skills to get his hands on it. Right now, Shin lays out the whole situation for his new crew and fires the question back, "What do you guys think about taking this job?" Shen blurts out that maybe this brutal mission finally lets him go toe-to-toe with someone truly strong, while Schwain just prays it's nothing more than a sweet, easy paycheck. Cassandra can't shake this bad feeling, so she grabs Shin and demands to know if he's really cool with helping because these are the same people who threw him out like trash. Shin tries to brush it off, calling it a misunderstanding, but Ath cuts in fast to set the record straight. This isn't about that old party at all, it's a personal favor she's asking for. She snaps into this dead serious stare and tells him, if I'd been there, those guys would never have exiled him, no way. And she makes it crystal clear it would have never happened on her watch, leaving it. A brutal quiet stretches between her and Cassandra as they lock eyes and refuse to blink. Shun shoots in fast, blares, hey, both of you, pipe down, and slams the brakes on the tension because they're still inside the guild. A voice from the side cuts in and agrees, saying he's 100, right? She freezes when Angelina finally strides over, then blurts out no beating around the bush that a lawsuit is on his side. She says his credibility as a client is rock solid, and suddenly the whole deal sounds way more legit. Ath backs it up on the spot. She promises them half the reward right now as a deposit, and she'll foot the bill for every supply they need. Angelina swears she can personally vouch for him. She's known him since his rookie days, and then she turns to the crew, demanding to know what they think. Cassandra pauses for a beat, weighs it all, then mutters, yeah, it looks like we don't have a real choice. So she finally breaks and officially tells everyone, yep, let's take the job. Then she stares straight at Shin and presses him. Was he planning to charge into this mission, even after everyone else told him no? She says, partners means I can read you like a book. Then still makes the rounds to confirm Lime and Schwain are truly on board with the plan. Xing is visibly stressed about what's coming, but Schwain and Lime are locked in, ready to roll without hesitation. Cassandra strides up to Ath and introduces herself properly. Then Schwain and Lime step right in, raise their heads, and slam their names down like a promise. Shin pulls out the paperwork to seal the contract for real, but Ath gets derailed because the voice coming through sounds way too familiar. Striding through town, Shin can't stop thinking about the sister Ath brought up earlier, while she leans in and points out a shop just ahead. Schwain jumps at the chance to try out fresh gear, testing the bite of a massive blade right there at a local stall. Later at the library, Angelina slips over to Shin and asks if the old files he's digging through have finally turned up something truly scary. The records don't just warn you, they brag about a demon-made monster so terrifying and powerful, it can chew right through Mithril like it's nothing. Shin points out that the last time this thing was spotted is right near where they're headed, while Angelina prays she's just worrying over old rumors. She couldn't stop herself from breaking into a light sweat, urging him to watch his step because out there, an A-rank monster could jump them any second. Shin just chuckles it off, telling her that if something that terrifying shows up, he'll snatch Ath up and haul ass. Shen finally exhales because now they've got trustworthy allies in their corner, and when Schwain and Lime grunt in agreement, Shen vows he'll get everyone back in one piece, right as the moment hits and Ath rolls in with a huge horse-drawn carriage, blames herself for the extra weight, and Cassandra's stunned. She asks if a ride this amazing is really a Shin original because, as Ath always rides out to the wild remote spots where stagecoaches never go, she tells everyone she's raking in cash on the side, and that's exactly how they pulled together their own wheels for the trip. Shen just shrugs and decides him and Ath can trade off driving this thing. Then he whips his head back to the others and tells Cassandra and Schwain they're officially on lookout for the ride. And just like that, he roars at everyone to move, and the second they do, the carriage finally lurches out across the jagged rocky plains straight for the remote Gorgon village. Once they hit the road, Shin glances over his shoulder and asks if the two girls want to climb into the carriage to catch some rest, but Cassandra urges Shin to finally rest, but Ath refuses to move a muscle. She insists she's fine and pushes Cassandra to go inside instead, and there Shin is, stuck in the crossfire. In the middle of it all, Cassandra just lets out a heavy sigh and tells them, hey, we're stuck on this trip together, so try your hardest to get along. Their trip throws them across every kind of terrain. One night they're pitching camp, the next they're washing up and pushing on. After a long stretch to travel, Cassandra leans forward and peeks back, then freezes as the forest ahead turns unnervingly thick. Shinad's muttered to himself, telling everyone they were almost at the village this place was going to be their base. He figures if everything goes right, they'll make it by tonight until a sudden thud slams from the back of the carriage, and his stomach drops. As Schwain warns them, he leans in, sniffs the air, and says he doesn't smell anyone strong still. He's totally down for a good time, and just then the group clocks it. There's a massive swarm of my Tango monster closing in from every side. Schwain rockets down to deal with it while Shen screams that they want no trouble, begs the creatures to just let them pass, but it's hopeless. Shin can already tell the leader won't hear a word of reason, and then he realizes something's off with Nian Shun, so Schwain strides up to the front and tells Shin, back off, leave the fighting to me. Shun yells a warning about the poison as Schwain slams into action, swinging his massive blade to carve a path through the danger, and Cassandra barrels in right after, promising she'll keep that carriage safe. She's telling Shin-Shi, you're on it, and let's unleash a burst of energy, blasting those mushroom monsters back into the dark. Angelina's jaw drops as a raging wall of fire wipes out the monsters, and she can't help but stare over like, Do you see how insanely amazing Cassandra is? But this isn't just her Schwain rockets forward like a black storm. Pure flex as he tears through the swarm with insane power. And even after all that, Shin finally realizes the nightmare. There are way too many enemies and they can't take them down like this. Cassandra fires off, "What's the plan, Shin?" And right as he's about to talk, everyone freezes because the monsters start bubbling and melting together like something is breaking the rules. Shen spots the danger and screams at Schwain to back up fast right as the ground starts trembling. The crew yanks back at the last second and boom, a huge nasty blob starts forming, and she shrieks, demanding what the hell that thing even is. Turns out every monster they just crushed is fusing into one monstrous mega creature, and Shin can't even wrap his head around what he's seeing. Someone fires off wind magic to blast it away, but she snaps, "Don't you dare leave it alone to grow." Cassandra locks eyes with the towering beast and snaps that they have to end it right now before things get even worse. The others demand, "How are we even supposed to handle this?" And she snaps back that if she goes all out, her full power will level the entire forest too. And that's when Shin finally clocks what a nightmare this really is. The massive mushroom monster unleashes a thunderous roar that rattles the entire forest to its core. Shin locks eyes on it, convinced that even if it grows huge, there's still a hidden core buried somewhere. His gaze stays nailed to the beast because one perfect shot is all he needs to end it. Angelina jumps into her spell as Schwain fires back that they aren't here to talk. Shin locks eyes on both of them and begs for their help so they can tear through this together. Right then, the crew spots it. The monster's arm starts bubbling and twisting, transforming into something far more terrifying. Turns out that monster isn't just feeding, it's siphoning magic straight out of the ground just to keep itself powered up. The beast slams its massive arm down into the earth, shattering the ground, and it nearly clips the party right as Shin clocks that this thing is way faster than it looks. Cassandra leans in and demands the plan. He orders her to stall that monster until he drops the signal. Then she grins and says, "Don't worry, leave it to me." Shun blasts out a shout telling everyone to shut their mouths and listen up as they regroup for the final do-or-die push. The monster whips its massive, crushing arm through the trees nearby, tearing them apart in its wake. Shan tells Angelina supercharges his attack and she kicks off her chanting spell. Schwain grins and says he can feel an insane tidal wave of power blasting through his body as Chin tells Schwain shouts it's time to move, the orc snaps back he's ready. Energy crackles and whirls around Shin's sword as he lines up for the biggest strike of his life. He drops straight from the sky, driving a massive punch down into the monster like it owes him money. That massive beast freezes in shock as the impact slams straight into its face. Cassandra holds them back with a reckless distraction while she unleashes a massive wind blade. They're screaming that this ends today while Schwain stumbles back, wheezing for air. Shin hurls everything he's got into one massive swing, blasting a giant hollow circle straight through the monster's chest. Angelina freezes in shock, praying that one hit ended it for good. But Shin doesn't drop his guard and tells her, straight up, this isn't over. The creature's flesh stretches and snaps back like it's healing. And then someone realizes the beast isn't dead at all, it's fighting to recover. Schwain spots a glowing core buried in the monster's pile of regenerating meat, and he goes for it right now. He tightens his grip on his weapon as dark energy coils around his hand. Then he rockets into a wild, spinning air attack. Shin launches into a sprint to help, yelling that he's coming to rescue him, but Cassandra snatches his arm and orders him to just wait and watch. A blade plunges clean into the monster's core, and Schwain just sits there with a smug smirk laughing under his breath because that giant beast finally starts to melt into nothing. Shin throws his sword up high and erupts in victory. He actually did it. Later, Shin looms over Schwain as the orc gasps for air, stunned that Shin reacted so fast in that single split second. Schwain just shrugs it off, says he got lucky, and then admits he aimed right for the loudest spot, while Cassandra walks by and tells him, "You did an amazing job." The giant monster finally drops, melting into a puddle, and as the last heat seeps away, Cassandra whirls on Shin and demands, "Okay, so what's your plan for this mess?" He stares at the wreckage and can't stand the idea of leaving it there, so he turns to her and drops, "I've got a damn good plan." The whole group starts to ease off until someone screams that it's finally over, and Angelina yells for everyone to come in because she's done cooking. She swears Shinchi's cooked up yet another masterpiece, and he jumps in like, "I'm actually dying to try it." Then everything turns weird the second. The whole crew, Schwain, Lime, and even Cassandra just stands there, shaking with nerves, staring at the pot like it might unleash something terrifying. Everyone crowds around that bubbling soup, and one person blurts, "Tell me you didn't really use those monster mushrooms as the main ingredient." The whole crew is like, "Is this even safe to eat?" But then they shrug, decide to stop overthinking, and dive in to find out. Schwain and Lime locked onto the skewers like they were about to charge into battle, while Cassandra stared at the food like it couldn't possibly be real. The second they take the bite, Cassandra's eyes blow wide with pure shock, and Schwain instantly erupts, shouting that the food is actually insane. He swears he could chow down on this forever, and even Cassandra snaps that it's maddening how much he genuinely loves the meal. Cassandra's still reeling because Shin actually turned those monsters into food, and that's when he grins and explains his gift. lets him know, down to the last detail, exactly how to clean and prep any ingredient. As Angelina keeps doling out more soup, she leans in and says, Shin has changed a ton since they started traveling together, only for Shin to hesitate and ask, like, you really think so? But Angelina doesn't mess around. She tells him she's seen it with her own eyes. He never fought this well back when he was still stuck with his old party. Shen pauses for a beat, then says the truth, his improvement only happened because he finally has people he can actually trust. He clenches his fist and finally admits it. He realizes he actually has the power to grow. Angelina turns her head and offers a quiet reply, but when she stares into her bowl, frustration hits her because she can't ignore just how far he's pushed ahead without her. She catches him mumbling and snaps, "Did you say something?" But he waves it off fast and insists it's nothing. All right, Shintel pushes them to start taking turns resting so everyone's ready for tomorrow, and right then, Cassandra suddenly just freezes in place. Shin hears it too. He cups his ear and strains to figure out whether it's real, whether someone's actually singing in the dark. The whole crew snaps into high alert. Shin can't stop wondering if it's just the villagers, while Angelina fires back, "Who in their right mind would be out this late?" Cassandra decides they're going to check it out, and Angelina snaps at them not to rush it, then tells them to regroup the moment the barrier is up. Shin shoots back, "I've got this." And the two of them blast through the dense bushes and tall grass, hunting the source with every step. Shin thrusts forward and spots an open stretch straight ahead on the path, and Cassandra snaps to it. Those haunting notes they've been hearing are blasting from right there, from that very spot. As they close in, Cassandra leans in and asks what he's seeing, but he shuts her down, staying stone still as he peers through the trees beneath a blinding full moon in an open stretch of land. They finally lock eyes on something absolutely unreal. A mysterious girl stood on a rock with her back turned, glowing like some wild, otherworldly light was burning through her. She's totally mesmerized by her gorgeous singing, and Cassandra realizes the very air around her is practically shimmering. Then suddenly, it's like everything changes, and that tension snaps for a heartbeat. And suddenly that voice feels painfully, unmistakably familiar. He shouts to see if anyone's around, and the girl absolutely loses it, terrified he might have really seen her standing there. Perseus chuckles at his own mistake, thinking he'd vanished flawlessly. Then the girl's face snaps to pure shock because Shin actually clocked her. Perseus throws himself into a dramatic pose, swears it's all the power of love. Then the girl just freezes there, stunned into total silence. Shin's brow breaks into a cold sweat as the truth hits. Somebody else has been lurking in the woods the whole time, and he's not alone anymore. Perseus smirks like he just solved a mystery, claiming he knew it was her. Then she snaps his name at him and tells him plain and simple that eavesdropping really doesn't suit him. He starts calling her his songstress and tells her she's still as gorgeous as ever, while she just glares at him like he's absolutely disgusting. Perseus slams down onto one knee and keeps the game going even when she spits that she hates him. Then she just screams at him, demanding to know why he's even showing up. He tells her the answer is painfully clear, then launches into this teasing rant. Her eyes sparkle like the stars in the night sky. He doesn't stop. He gushes over her sun-bright hair and even calls her little snaggle teeth totally adorable. He insists he's there just to make sure he never misses a single moment of her beauty, but she's done completely fed up, and Perseus is totally lost as he cluelessly asks what's wrong with his princess. Tucked in the bushes, the crew stares at the scene, and Cassandra leans in, asking if those two were really the ones singing earlier, right before. While Shin blurts that he heard the words princess and knight, he can't help wondering if this is a secret meeting. And Angelina cuts in that it looks like a tense clash between people from different social classes, like some kind of forbidden romance. Cassandra watches them like a hawk, and the whole thing screams not a fairy tale to her, more like it's just as tragic as... It's like they're caught in the middle of a massive brawl. She in the kimono shrieks at Perseus that he's getting in the way, then snaps at the stalker to just go home. But Perseus is loving it, red-faced. He's shouting, begging her to hit him with even more insults. He blurts out a hard pivot, "I don't know who you are, I don't know where you came from." And then he just stares, like he's begging them to look. But when he locks eyes on their hiding spot, he calls eavesdrop not admirable, then snaps, "Show yourselves now." The whole group pops to their feet with their hands up, and right away Angelina blurts out, "Please forgive me," while Shin scrambles to cover it by claiming the singing was so beautiful he literally couldn't move. Perseus thinks it's awesome, then the mood snaps. He gets serious and demands to know who they are and why they're out in the forest. Shin tells them, "Relax, we're just Corinthos adventurers on a job, hunting ingredients for a brand new potion." Perseus hears their tale, says it's a brutal long haul, and offers his sympathy, then slams down a... Shin chimes in fast, insisting they won't find those materials out here in these borderlands as he talks to finish his point, making the conversation start to turn. Perseus blurts, "Who are you?" And Sheen lifts a crest high and fires back, "I'm Sheen Sclepius of the Panacea Guild," and then continues, saying, he tells her he's hunting medicine research and came all this way for a rare material. Then the kimono girl catches the crest and instantly gets what's going on. Angelina spots it from her past trips in town, then fires back at Shin. "Are you really sure?" Shin doesn't dodge it. He goes, "Let's just tell the truth." So he drops the bombshell. What he's been chasing isn't some random substance. It's the blood of a gorgon, the monster itself. Perseus totally snaps, demanding to know what she just said, right there in front of everyone nearby. She murmurs the words again and again under her breath. Then her hands start to tremble as she demands what he meant. And right then, her hair erupts into hissing snakes, and she screams at the people who kidnapped her sisters. They're aiming straight at Chin's group. Chin's about to get crushed, so she screams, "That's them!" and vows she'll never forgive them. Perseus is freaking out over the kidnapping accusation, while Shin scrambles to explain it's all just a big misunderstanding, but he lunges for his weapon because once that girl snaps like this, there's no talking her back and no point trying to reason anymore. He yanks out a huge curved blade, shoves it into their hands, and warns them it's mercy because in moments, there'll be nothing but rust along the edge. Shin stares at that weird sword thinking, what even is that? But he's not about to stand there and get slaughtered, so Perseus explodes forward in a blur of speed, and for one split second, he catches Shin completely off guard. Cassandra slides in and blocks the strike like she'd already seen it, snapping, "I knew you'd try something like that," while Angelina just watches in shock. Perseus spots her hair for a split second and his whole body locks up as he blurts, "Wait, are you really a demon?" She doesn't even flinch, she just asks, "So, are you finally ready to sit down and talk while he's still dealing with a demon?" Perseus didn't even swing, he started trembling, shot her a bitter, "Pitiful," and insisted she must have suffered through it all too. He locks eyes with her and demands, "So, you're really saying you're the one playing Hunter now?" The clash between Perseus and Cassandra turns feral. Perseus snaps that the whole fight is getting nowhere, just running in circles, but then Shin, he's freaking out, he's never seen Cassandra get shoved back like that. And you can tell Perseus is hauling way faster than any normal beer anchor ever could. Angelina screams Stian's name. She gasped because she could see everything spiraling out of control, and fast especially since Cassandra pours everything she's got into every strike just to keep that guy pinned, because he can barely hold her back while they slam into each other with brutal, heavy hits. She tells Shinji, "I've got this guy," then snaps, "Stop staring at the screen and go help the kimono girl before this thing spirals out of control." Shin bolts forward, but the girl snaps her gaze up, then she warns him she's about to unleash her demon eye, and her eyes suddenly flare with a creepy glow as she screams at him to turn into stone. Shen snaps his eyes away to block the glare, but he's a split second too late. Petrification slams into his arm and spreads like wildfire. He freezes for a second, staring at his hand now fully turned to stone, feeling that crushing weight. It's gripping him tight, and the girl clocks it. He already knew her power, but he still wasn't quick enough to dodge the hit. Shin realizes that if he hadn't set up those counters beforehand, that final move would have been an all-out disaster. Now he's just praying Cassandra and the others are still okay. Perseus just stands there, grinning like he's won, and admits the mirror shield trick actually caught him off guard while the girl snaps her tongue, visibly fed up. He leans in and asks Shin what he's doing next, promising that if he repents, hands back everyone he stole, he might finally convince the princess to spare Shin's life. But she doesn't back off for a second. He cuts in, saying it's way too soon for that kind of big speech. Right while Perseus totally snaps, staring in shock as Asclepius is still standing, and he can't understand how the petrification even failed to work. Shin snaps a healing spell onto his injured arm, breathes out in relief, and turns to Angelina because she stepped in at the perfect moment and saved him. Angelina shouts at Schwain to make his move, and the big guy is practically itching to dive straight into the middle of the fight. Shun blurts that they're complete lifesavers while Schwain barrels straight at the enemy, catching everyone off guard like a soundless punch that leaves them stunned as a tiny object tumbles through the sky, proof that Shin's plan is finally clicking into place. He yanks the girl's arm and tells her they're safe because they got to study her power. Her evil eye won't work on them anymore. The kimono girl steps in and demands, "Can we just sheathe our swords for a moment before this gets any uglier?" But Shin isn't finished. He snaps out that he still wants a real conversation with them first before anyone else gets hurt. He whips around to Schwain and orders him to leave that guy alive, and the orc just cracks his knuckles like, "Don't worry, I've got this." Perseus is losing his mind. He can't even process it. Shin is out here bossing an orc warrior around like this is totally normal, and it's breaking him. He clutches his composure and swears that when it's the princess's night, he can't just quit. He refuses to turn around and walk away. Schwain doesn't let him breathe. He barrels in and hammers Perseus into the dirt with one brutal, earth-shaking slam. Staring down at the fallen knight, they can't help but blurt, "Was he seriously even worth all that mess we just went through?" Cassandra sheathed her weapon, and the truth hit her hard. She couldn't find her rhythm at all during that entire mess. As Shin reaches for the Gorgon girl, he presses her, "So, are you finally ready to sit down and talk now that the fighting's over?" The girl drops her gaze and finally breaks. She'll talk as long as they swear they won't kill her tonight, ending the standoff for good. Shun watches the group finally steady down, and in his head he's like, "Yep, I never meant for this to go any other way." The crew steers the talk toward a secluded watermill house by a waterfall, hidden in the moonlight like a secret they can't risk keeping quiet. Once he storms inside, Perseus face plants the floor with a huge apology and then drops the truth he used to run around solo as a beer-rank adventurer. Cassandra tells him to drop it because they all made it out alive, and Shin shoots a look around like, can we all agree on that? The girl fully agrees that talking it out is the only way forward. So she straight up decides it's finally time to stop stalling and get down to business. She tells them to start fresh, real introductions, wipe the slate clean because she's sitting right there with Perseus, and then he steps up and claims he's the leader of the B-ranked party, the legion straight out of the city of Corinth. The girl whips out some steaming hot drinks for everyone, praying the first sip hits the exact taste they love. Shin gulps down hard as she watches him, stunned at how fast he's moved in like he owns the place. She leans in close and quizzes Shin on whether he's secretly a monster tamer, and it knocks the wind clean out of him. Shen finally breaks it down his gift is really the universal translator then. Out of nowhere, a voice from the side snaps back that he's got it all wrong. He keeps pushing forward, insisting he can only hear and talk to animals or monsters. No real power to control them at all until Medusa leans in and asks if that's truly how it is. Thinking these monsters trailing Shin aren't choosing it at all like somebody's forcing them to follow, she smiles like she's holding a secret and tells her, "Yep, exactly right. Those are his precious comrades." And Medusa looks genuinely stunned because when he says it, it's the truth. Perseus erupts into yelling that no one, especially Farshin, can possibly understand the princess, but Angelina snaps at him to shut his mouth right away. The girl finally straightens up and introduces herself the right way. Medusa, from the Gorgon village of Grai, telling him how her gaze used to turn anyone who met her eyes into stone until just recently. She brags about how she wiped that curse away so easily, and Angelina cuts in, saying she can just call him up for short. And Angelina still has one burning question. What kind of medicine did he use on Chen earlier? Shin admits how brutal it really is, and Angelina fires back that even the top-tier mages struggle to snap those curses, but she's still totally thrown off because he handled everything so fast and he even whipped that potion together on the spot. She blurts out that she'd never seen anyone pull off a stunt like that back when she was adventuring. Then she launches into explaining that they realize the secret is right in front of them. Then Medusa spots a few bottles and instantly sees they're all different colors. Medusa squints in full disbelief like, what are you doing? Why are you dragging those potion bottles out like that? Shin decides to spell it all out for everyone, and Angelina jumps in explaining exactly how they trained and prepped for a face-to-face with a Gorgon. He breaks down how he tweaked the ingredients until the mix hit perfection, then whips up a bunch of different versions just to crack that petrification problem. Clutching a petrified mushroom in his hand, he leans in and tells them that after he studied the real analysis results, they tore through piles of old books and forgotten tales for ages, hunting for the one way to make it work until the moment everything finally clicked, leading. Angelina slams her focus on the table as the magic circle erupts in bright, blazing light. One tiny drop of the new potion plummets onto the petrified mushroom, then everything goes still. It snaps back to its original form in an instant, and Angelina yells for everyone to lock in and watch it happen up close. Shin stands there like he owns the moment, then finally drops the truth his weird gift has a name. Child of the Medicine God, which hands him the power to break down and cure nearly any disease, curse, or poison, and lets him mix the meds himself too. Perseus snaps and demands, "So, you're telling me Shin's really one of those legendary Golden Fleece guys?" He finally clocks it. That's why everything felt eerily familiar while Angelina just leans in and listens as he stitches the whole story together. Perseus leans in and tells them that even in his far-off hometown, people can't stop talking about that group, calling them rising stars with insane gifts. Shen leans in and asks Medusa if this finally proves he won't pull any shady moves with her blood, while Perseus just beams and says, "Meeting you, that's already a massive honor." Medusa hesitates and admits one terrifying truth. Her blood isn't just dangerous. It's a straight-up deadly poison that kills any human who so much as touches it. Shen tells her she's only half right until it hits when her kind transforms. That poison doesn't just stay toxic, it flips into a brutal healing power. Shin swears that once he saw the real thing, he was 100% certain about the secret. And Medusa even admits that back in her own village, only a tiny handful of people truly know the truth about her blood, and she can't believe she pulled the entire answer together all by herself. Perseus just stands there, jaw dropped, stunned at how wild it is that the princess's blood was concealing something like that, and it hits him like, wow. And he launches into this whole rant about how being a knight is an enormous responsibility. So Shin just stares him down and says, basically, "You're something else, aren't you?" Shin pivots the conversation, saying he heard Perseus used to be an adventurer himself, then slams the point home Cassandra is a top-tier fighter, strong even by B-rank standards. So he blurts out the question, how did Perseus really pull it off? Because he knows his usual sword skills wouldn't have been enough to stop her. Perseus blurts that he just got lucky with the weapon matchup. Then Shin stares and asks if he means that weirdly shaped sword sitting right there. Perseus brags that the sword is called Harp, His masterpiece he forged with his creator and says it's the gift he's made to hunt monsters because he's done asking for permission. He built that thing in the first place just to survive Gorgons, only for it to end up saving him in a way he never, ever predicted. Shin finally clicks this sword isn't just any blade, it's a monster slayer made for female monsters, and that's why it wrecked Cassandra earlier so perfectly. Shin points out something terrifying under normal rules. An ordinary monster wouldn't even be able to move, yet. But Cassandra pushed him hard enough that he had to whip out his trump card, the mirror shield, and when he tells her that alone is straight up impressive, her eyes light up. Then he swivels toward Perseus and fires off the question, why would someone with that kind of skill ever quit? Especially when Shin's gift is basically a non-stop money pit. Perseus blurts out that city life had turned pure chaos, then admits he only came back because his partner's scandalous mess blew up everything. Hearing that, Shin flinches and snaps that it sounds like a total disaster. Yet Perseus doesn't bat an eye as he cuts in like, and he brushes it off with a grin, swearing it was luck, because it somehow landed him with his princess while Shin and Medusa just stand there, stuck with blank faces, staring at him like they've seen a ghost. The vibe snaps into something heavy when Shin brings up that old non-aggression pact between Danny Village and Madu's hometown because it means something, and everyone knows it. Back when a few people still loitered to trade goods, it was chaos until by the time he came back, that whole hustle had completely vanished. Turns out some nasty sickness slammed the village, shut down every trade route, and once monsters started swarming the roads, nobody dared to come in or leave. Perseus admits that he knew absolutely nothing about medicine, so he tossed the healing to the experts and threw himself into guard duty with every ounce of energy he had. Perseus goes full dramatic again, strikes a wild pose, yells that this is the big, fateful meeting he's been waiting for, and points straight at the song strip. He tries to ramble about the moonlit night, but Medusa cuts him off with a brutal physical stop, and Shin snaps at him to knock it off because they're trying to talk. Medusa's face turns stone cold as she admits it. People from her village have been vanishing lately, and no matter how hard they searched, they couldn't find a single trace. She drops her gaze, looking shattered as she admits the worst, her own older sister has vanished too. And it's all happened lately. She pushes on and tells me she heard some stranger had slipped into the human village, so she rushed over to catch the kidnapper. But all she found waiting there was Perseus. She still hasn't cracked the real culprit, and instead of solving the mystery, she got stuck with this creepy weirdo tailing her everywhere. So she realized there was only one way out. Playbait to lure the kidnapper into the open, and she finally started to grasp what that meant. Angelina scans the road and swears nothing sketchy showed up. Then Shin points out the wild truth. Perseus and Medusa are the only people they've seen at all. Perseus says straight up that nobody back in his village is strong enough to even attempt kidnapping Gorgon, so this whole situation gets even stranger by the second. Shin clenches his fist as it clicks in his head because after everything, there's only one suspect left. Shin snaps his head toward Angelina as the truth slams into him. If the Gorgons are being hauled away without a single fight, then someone in the tribe is a traitor. The moon blazes high above the drifting clouds as the night drags on. Shin leaps out of the carriage and spots Angelina waiting by the campfire. She praises him for the job and asks, right then, where Asu's hiding. Shin drops into a seat and tells him he let him sleep because he'd blown through way too much magic, while Angelina just nods along, hanging on every word as he keeps talking, saying, even if she was ready to throw down, that whole situation back there was just too wild to handle. He says trying to figure out a B-ranked curse on the fly and whip up a cure. Right there is a massive ask, like huge. Angelina locks eyes with her reflection in the blade, replaying how totally unhinged Shin's skills are compared to hers because all she did was freeze up and buy them 0 time. She can't deny it. They don't run into magic sword chaos every day. And she still didn't measure up. She clamps her sword tight, glaring like she wants to bite the problem in half, and snaps that it's just wildly frustrating. She starts panicking about what happens next time they get trapped like that again, because if there's no healer nearby to yank them out, they might not survive. Suddenly, she shoots up with laser focus, staring at Shin and declaring she's finally decided what she has to do. Cassandra locks eyes with Shin and says, dead serious, that even if her special powers are gone, she'll still prove she can take care of herself in a fight which sets everything in motion, leading... And that's when Shin leans in and blurts, I'm just really glad you're my partner. And that surprise compliment knocks her completely off guard, leaving her speechless, while, as she scrambles to get her nerves under control, she blurts out, what's gotten into you, boss? But Shin won't fold, staring past her toward the future. He's telling me the world of a rank and higher is exactly where they're headed. And it was Cassandra who finally cracked his stubborn mindset and made him face the truth. Cassandra laughs it off, teasing him like it's totally normal because he's the legendary Return of the Demon King's partner. Shinji swats it down, insisting his size is just baseless rumor. Then she cuts him off with a teasing grin and the whole thing boils over into a... But she snaps back into serious mode and says she heard nonstop talk about the Legion on her way here. Apparently the guild already made sure Corinth is fully aware of who they are. And then Shin feels the weight hit like everything could flip in a heartbeat, so he crosses his arms, nerves sparking as he thinks, One wrong move and we become the prey. With the danger staring him in the face, Shin decides he's done playing it safe. He wants to go beyond finishing the job. He admits that, yeah, Asu got the blood she asked for, but now he's determined to mend the Gorgon's relationship for real, once and for all. Landing a real bond with the Gree would be a massive win for the Legion in the long run. Just sits there by the fire, eyes locked on the flames as the night drags on. Cassandra flashes a smirk at Shinoff, snaps him out loud with the truth deep down. He's only trying to save those girls, and that's exactly what she says. And it completely flusters Shin. She just laughs it off, admits she knew all along, and says it's exactly the kind of move he'd pull. She tells him, don't sweat it once everyone else hears about it. They'll feel the exact same way. And the seriousness hits her eyes hard. She makes him swear if he's ever seconds from the wrong choice, she'll do anything to stop him so long. As long as he keeps to the right path, she'll be the blade that fights for him. Shin can only answer by speaking her name, but then he breaks into a grin, thanks her, and nods. That's what being partners is all about, right as they seal it with a fist bump. The next morning, Asu bursts out of the tent with a massive yawn, smiles at the crew, and jumps right into the moment as everyone else is still waking up. And Cassandra's already up and in motion, rushing over to greet her while carrying warm bowls of breakfast. Schwain shows up too, hauling that massive beast on his shoulders, then hits Shin with, so did you finally get some real sleep? Asu flashes this beat-up, happy little smile and says she slept like a log because everyone watching out for her made it happen. Everyone crowds around the table the moment breakfast hits, and finally it is time to dig in. As they dig in, Cassandra leans in and plots their next strike. Danny Village is their base, and from there, they'll start hauling in intel. They throw everything into finding and rescuing everyone who got taken. Schwain is all in on that plan, and Angelina jumps in right after, turning to everyone and asking what they think of her exact plan for how they'll spend their time in the village. The whole crew barrels down the road right as their carriage stops at the gates of Danai Village. Perseus is already there, waiting like a hype man, shouting a huge welcome as he calls the members of the Panacea Company over. Angelina flashes a respectful bow, then gratefully thanks Lord Perseus for trekking all this way just to come greet her. So Perseus tells them to grab the carriage and follow his lead, promising he'll guide them straight to the chief's place. Shin glances back at the village crowd staring as they march past, and an awkward heat creeps over him. They barge up to a huge building, and Perseus declares, this is the village chief's place and the whole village meets here. Boots clack on the floor as a newcomer strides up, shouting, is Perseus here to the group? It's the village chief's daughter, Andromeda. She marches in like she owns the place, demanding to know if Perseus is the one behind all this racket. Shin asks if Andromeda should even be out of bed yet. But Andromeda just laughs it off. Special medicine worked its magic, and she swears she feels totally fine. Angelina suddenly steps in, smiles politely, and asks Lord Perseus if he'd mind introducing everyone to each other. Perseus whips Andromeda into the team's view, and the second she looks at Shin, she freezes and demands, are you the adventurer Pell was talking about? She goes along with the disguise, flashes a grin, calls herself the Scoopiest, and tells him she's a medicine merchant straight from the city. Then she flashes a signal to the real Shin, telling him to haul in the usual supplies they always carry, setting the stage for. Perseus and Andromeda peer into the crate as it glows with high-grade gear, and Andromeda can't stop thinking, does this doctor really know what he's doing? Perseus is stunned by how insane the gear is, while Andromeda hesitates, awkwardly asking if it's really okay for them to just walk off with all of it. Sheen flashes a warm, knowing smile and says, this is exactly what we're here for, and then pushes it into their hands, insisting they take the gift so their new friendship starts on the right note. Andromeda beams at the group for saving her, then leans in and asks, so, are you here to see my father? She tells Pell to lead everyone to the dining room while she hunts him down, and Pell shoots back that he's got it handled. As they head down the hall, Shin blurts, wait, why is she up and walking if she was supposed to be bedridden? She's convinced that Miracle Cure is hiding a secret, so she pushes for them to talk to the chief first. They track down the man who's running the place, and he swings the doors open, welcoming Asclepius and the guards into their remote home. He stood up and introduced himself as Cepheus, the official chief of Danny Village. He tells them, don't just hang around after a trip like this, then waves everyone over and pushes them to take their seats. After they finally sink into their seats with a round of drinks, he leans in and says he bets they've all heard the rumors about what's going on, but he tells me they used to trade with the other village until the Gorgons crashed a meeting and started slaughtering everyone right there. Everything was going great until the day it all flipped, and Cepheus looked absolutely rattled as he told me how it happened. The chief says he heard a traveling merchant sold the village a special antidote, and Andromeda looks wildly stressed the second she hears it. He tells you how, back then, his daughter got poisoned and she barely made it out alive. He admits it's basically a miracle nobody's died yet, but if this chaos keeps rolling, it won't be long before things turn really, really bad. Andromeda shuts the conversation down and drops that she heard their escorts are no ordinary adventurers. Then Angelina steps in and backs it up, saying he's a top-tier player in the city, and Shen shoots her a grateful nod for the intro and drops his name, while Angelina leans in to tell the chief he runs a beer-ranked crew called the Legion. He swings the spotlight onto Cassandra as their deadly swordswoman, then drops the bombshell she's a half-demon and tells them she's the partner he trusts more than anyone. Then he introduces Lime, the one who apparently takes charge of healing for the whole group. The villagers gawk in pure shock as a slime sits on his shoulder, and Perseus just stands there, silently soaking it all in like it's his show. She admits they're allowed to be shocked, but Lime just grins and swears to everyone he's not a bad slime. So Shin tells the kid, "Don't sweat it, I'm just a harmless healer, like everything's totally fine." Shin leans in and says, "There's one more guy you've got to meet," then drops the name Schwain, an orc warrior who was back there guarding the carriage while everything went down, and yeah, while that little kid from the village marches up to the hulking beast they brought along and starts patting its side like it's totally fearless. The kid snaps his head up and locks eyes with Schwain's terrifying stare so hard he goes stone still, frozen with shock. Andromeda snatches at the kid and yanks him back while Schwain just freezes there, utterly baffled by the whole chaos. The villagers start whispering, grilling Shin like, "So you really tamed monsters and demons?" And Shin just cuts it off, saying he doesn't have that kind of insane power. He tells you his gift is called devilry, and all it does is earn the demons' trust just by talking to them and showing them real respect. Cassandra panics, blurts out that she can't follow him because of some gift, and then Angelina just grins and says she trusted him from the very beginning. And just like that, Shin steps up and offers to help the village take down their terrifying Gorgon problem for good. The chief's shoulders finally drop and he blurts out that he can't thank them enough because right before this, he was literally trying to scrape together every last coin for a guild request. So Shin asks if they can watch the place for the time being, and the chief jumps in, promising a rock-solid reward is waiting for them. Shinad's right there, making it clear he's got the hang of everything, and he's ready to jump in and get to work. A few days slide by while the crew finally falls into village life, rolling up their sleeves and jumping in to help defend the locals. A local drops off a bowl of plain soup and some bread, then quickly apologizes. "This is all we've got for now." Shun reassures her not to panic, saying they've basically been stuck chewing dry rations anyway, so honestly, he's grateful, and she tells them to yell if they need anything, while Angelina promises she'll speak up the moment anything happens. Once they're finally alone, Shin leans in and says Schwain and the other guys are still out on patrol, but he just can't wait to spill the details, telling them how he spent the last few days with the guards and still hasn't seen a single big group lurking nearby. Lately, the village hasn't seen a single hint of an attack, and Angelina's quick to point out that the local guards are way more dangerous than they seem. She admits she's honestly stunned by how fast the villagers and the guards clicked with Lime, and the others especially, since showing up with a squad of monsters like that was pure madness. But when it all turned out fine, the relief hit him hard. Angelina snaps the vibe into something heavier and tells him it's time to dig into the report about the victims from the last incident. Shin wraps up his checkup on Andromeda and the other villagers who got attacked, and Angelina can't stop staring at it because that miracle cure is shockingly high level. But Shin leans in and says, "Look, everyone looks totally fine to a normal person." Even though the villagers bounce around like they've got endless energy, this whole recovery is just a polished act, nothing real at all. He tells them the poison is still trapped in their bodies, and they're just dragging out the inevitable so the medicine can give up any second. And Angelina freezes in shock, blurting out if even Shin's power can't fix this, then what hope is left? Shin admits he could fix this, but he refuses to reveal his cards when they still don't even know who's really pulling the strings behind the whole mess, which Angelina has to sign off on, especially when they're still flying blind. For now, Shin decides to hand out his special tea to the locals to give them a quick stamina boost, mainly because he wants payback on whoever messed with him. But he knows they've got to hunt down whoever's behind this fast, because if they don't, this nightmare will stretch on way too long. But the real twist is this. The antidote they gave the villagers was packed with a very specific kind of blood. Angelina's eyes narrow. She finally gets how serious this is, and she shoots back. "So, are the attackers actually tied to that village traitor?" Shin nods and says it's almost certain, especially if it's the same poisoner who hit them before. And Cassandra can't stop thinking about a Gorgon poison user, and she realizes this kind of threat is way beyond what a B-rank adventurer is even supposed to survive. Even so, she snaps into action and declares it's exactly the right moment to prove what they can really do. Shin and Angelina are both on board, and they lock eyes like, "We're going all in, ready to unleash whatever comes next." Angelina leans in and asks, "So, what's the move from here?" While Shin smirks and tells her he's dead set on hunting down that hidden village. He even starts thinking, maybe I'll go straight to the village chief if I tell him about my special gift. I can bargain with the folks there and make this work. Angelina shoots down the idea that this mysterious merchant will show up, so she tells them to quit stalling and plunge straight into the lion's den, get it over with fast. Cassandra tells them straight up if they're really chasing that hidden village, they're gonna need Perseus in their corner to make it through. And while Shin is trying to dodge a brutal face-to-face brawl, Cassandra won't budge. She demands they get their gear ready for whatever chaos hits next. Right as the group wraps up their plans to move out tonight, a thunderous bang slams the door shut and their conversation instantly gets ripped apart. Tamos, a dude from the village, comes flying in wild-eyed, shaking with panic as he blurts that he's finally found them. Sweat pours down his face. He can barely suck in air, but he still screams, "Big emergency, move, move, move!" She shoots out a hand to steady him, tells him to take a breath, then demands right there what the heck is happening. So Timo cracks it open and turns out a whole horde of trolls has crashed into the forest, right on the edge of the village. Those colossal beasts are already smashing through the trees, and they're about to wreck everything in their path.